And why do I point you at the rostrum stand and face Jerusalem? Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Asherah, Talanawa, Ashabath, Ba'shalawam, Tawada, Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. I am Ma'ad Asherai Makad, Psalm 121. Anya, Harayim, Mayan, oh, Harayim, Mayan, Yabu'a, Isaiah, Yabu'a, Mayahawa, Shai, Shamayim, Wa'aratisa, La'a, Yanasan, Mamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Yawam, Shashamarta, Hana, Yawam, Wala'a, Yashun, Shashumar, Yasharala, Yahweh, Shemaya, Yahweh, Tazaliah, I am Yam Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Hakaya, Wayarak, La'a, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamaya, Makom, Yashamar, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashamar, Hawalakia, Wabu'aya, Ma'itha, I will Basham, Yahweh, for water, Amen.
Psalms 121, a song of degrees. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber, behold. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yashrela, hear, O Israel. Shema Yashrela, Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh, Shema Yashrela, Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh, Shema Yashrela, Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh,
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
Amen. Tapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abi Yanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Saba'ah, Atazawanka, Ayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Tulanawa, Lakham, Yawam, Sa, Wasalakanawa, Kababathanawa, Kastalakanawa, Kababathanawa, Wala'ah, Habiyanawa, Oh, Messiah one, Abo, Hawashino, Maran, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watha Parab, Laiwalam, Amen.
Luke chapter 11, verse 2. He said unto them, when ye pray, say, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us day by day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins. We also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Amen. Ha'aishra Matazawaf, the Ten Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Laka, Alahaya, Akariam, Alpanya, La'ah, Taisha, Laka, Hasol, Wala'ah, Taibadam, La'ah, Talakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashua, Zakar, Ah, Hayawam, Hashabat, Lakodashra, Kabad, Abika, Wa Amaka, La'ah, Taratazak, La'ah, Sana'at, La'ah, Takana, La'ah, Taina, Shakur, La'ah, Takamad, Ko, Asherah, Lara'ayaka, Aman.
Deuteronomy 5:7. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, neither shalt thou commit adultery, neither shalt thou steal, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Yeshua, be seated. Barakata Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Par Yahagapin, Tawada Aman, La Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I welcome you on Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. We open in prayers. Barak Yahweh, Tagadol, Rakwam, Abiyah, Wanava'ah, Aliyawan, Malak, Shol, Shemayim, Wa'aratazah, Makol, Debayim, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Adawannawa, Ahabnawa, Apalah, Yawaitza, Yahushua, Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Baratazawan, Aika, Yasha'ala, Izarnawa, Banah, Wasa, Yasha'ala, O, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Aitha, Kayawamyam, Makodam, Baba Kusha, Shalat, Mayaka Allah, Wahatazawadah, Alahayim, La, Agunnawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Ba'akwar, Shalat, Aroka, Shal, Yahushai, Lanawa, Alamadnawa, Rabin, Hakama, Fabawada, Wada'ai, Shal, Debarka, Bahasham, Yahushai, Thawada, from God, Walam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahushai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushua to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always and forever. So be it. Read the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, that gives to us the law. Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hathawara. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, that gives to us light to see. Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Awar, Ma'awah. Blessed are Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, that gives to us the rams who want to call the people. Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Koran, Hayol, Lakorah, Ha'ain. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hasheman, Zayath, Lamashah, Yasha'ala. Shabbat. Be seated. right. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Ashar Shabbat. Happy Sabbath to the brothers and sisters that's watching on the live stream, listening on the teleconference, the documents here in the school. All praise to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, or the Most High in the name of Christ. We give all honor and glory and exhortation to the Most High for allowing us to come together today on the Sabbath day. Here to, what is this, the 14th of February. No, it's a pagan day today, but this is the high holy day. This is a Sabbath day. So this day supersedes man's, all what they got going on. But we have to be thankful that the Lord has given us wisdom and understanding to come and stand before him, whether you're home or what have you, to praise him according to his will. This is Hayah Shral Kanas, which in Hebrew means the congregation of Israel, the uniting of our brothers and sisters, gathering of our brothers and sisters under the Spirit of the Most High in Christ through his knowledge, through his understanding, through the laws, the statutes, and commandments found throughout the Old Testament, the New Testament, as well as the hidden book known as the Apocrypha, which we're going to be going through today for the Sabbath service lesson, right? Where in this Bible, in these books, it teaches us, all things, not just, something. It teaches us all things, mainly, who the Most High's chosen people are of all nations that were created in the earth. The Lord did choose one to be above all nations. He did bless them with his commandments, his wisdom, bless them with, superiority in different facets as it comes to, athletics, science, ingenuity, all those different things. The Most High gave gifts to this nation to be superior to other nations. I know that sounds kind of harsh to those because they told us that we're all equal. But when you look on the surface, right, we are not equal, right? As far as for our looks, as far as for our thought process and the customs and things that we keep, we're not equal. The Most High tells us in the book of Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter, that he divided the nations up, right? He gave us our own locations to dwell in, and he gave one nation him, so to speak, right? Meaning we have the true understanding of the Most High. Who is the we, right? Those whose ancestors going back at least 3 to 4 generations on your parents' side, on your father's side, your father's side, because the man carries a seed, and this is how the Most High determines your pedigree or your lineage, through the seed of your fathers. Not to discount the mothers, not that they don't have a role, which they do. Women have a major role to play, but as it pertains to understanding your lineage, your pedigree, from whence you came, the Most High tells us, like you read in Numbers 1:18, it comes from the lineage of your father, right? And if your ancestry on your father's side can be proven to be those who, in these last years, in these past some 100 years, ancestors who came over on the transatlantic or the sub-Saharan, participated in the sub-Saharan slave trade, right, who were oppressed throughout hundreds of years throughout the Americas as well as throughout Europe and other areas, then fulfillment of the prophecies that you read in the Bible, then you would be one of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel, right? Primarily those who fit that description represents so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, right? We call those like the quote-unquote Negro tribes. But then if you are the indigenous people who are spread throughout the Americas, North, Central, and South America, and even portions in Canada, the indigenous inhabitants of the land prior to the Spaniards, conquistadors, the Dutch, British, so forth and so on, coming over to the Americas and colonializing it, then you would be fulfillment of those prophecies and historical artifacts found throughout the Bible, linking up with modern day history in alignment. Then you would be also a part of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel, right? So-called Native American Indians, Taino Indians, Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, right? All of these now known today as far as for the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the Cubans, right? The Seminole Indians, all of these who now fit that description of those who were the indigenous people would be classified as one of the 12 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. Each tribe is almost like its own nation when you read it in the book of Genesis, but we all come under one.
also found in his Bible is the table of nations of other people. It's just not only one people that you read about in the scriptures. You read about the Europeans and how they became who they are today, going way back to a man named Esau. You read about the indigenous people of the continent of Africa, how they go back to a man named Ham and his descendants who became nations. You read about the East Indians, and you read about a lot of these people and their original biblical names, right? Arabs, Ishmael, right? Those people who are, come in that region in Asia, they would come out of Elam, right? And a lot of this trace, some of them know today that that's where they originate from, right? So a lot of information is not only just pertaining to one nation, it's all nations, but that one nation was given laws to govern them, right? To separate them, to make them holy, which is what found in the first 5 books at a good portion, but then also throughout what we call the Tanakh, as well as the New Testament and in the hidden books, right? There's a lot of laws, testimonies, and accounts, prophecies that gives us insight into history, current, and in the future of our plight here on the earth. So a lot of these things we read, we teach in classes on Tuesdays and Fridays. We go through 2 chapters on the Sabbath day, which is today, from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. We come here in the mornings, Saturday mornings, to do a worship and prayer to the Lord. Hopefully while you're home, when we're doing the prayers, you could also find a place in your homes to face the east, like it tells you in the book of Kings, to face the east towards our homeland, right, to do the prayers, right? So just, we're not physically here. So if you're home, find where the east is, if you're here in the Americas, most definitely where, you see the sun rising, find that direction, and then you can also do your prayers. Follow along with us as well, because this was for all Israels. It's not the brothers and sisters that are physically here in the school in Germantown, PA, but those who are, listening on the phone or from wherever you are, right, should also want to participate in the prayer of sending up worship to the Father. All right. So again, this is Hayashra Kanas. This is the Sabbath service. We're going to be in the book. I didn't even put the banner up, I think, for the other one, but we're going to be in the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus chapters 25 and 26. And then I'll touch on, I'll see if I remember, I'll touch on a little bit about what we shouldn't involve ourselves in today and what we need to prepare for what's coming. All right. So Khan Samak. Samak means support in Hebrew. Salutations to Lab Tawab and his wife Emma. Shalom. Not sure how to say that. I guess it's some form of a symbolism, but to whomever that is, shalom or peace, as we say. Shalom. Huh? Yeah, I'm not too sure. It says High Lion. Peace to you. Not sure where you're from or where you're at, but you might learn something. Shalom, Elder Zaquan. Shalom, Rabakwa. Shalom, Yahweh, a warrior. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. And Lord willing, everybody's in good spirits on this Sabbath day. So, without further ado, let's jump into Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus. Again, if you don't have this book, the Apocrypha, you can Google it. They have online. I think we used to put. Let me see if I have it in. If it's in here, there was a link for newcomers. All right, I'll take this one. Give me 1 second. All right, this is one here. You can use this as a reference if you don't have an apocrypha. You can use this link here to go online, right? And we're going to be in where it says wisdom of Jesus, son of Sirach. if you're following along in that list. All right. So we're going to be in the 25th chapter and starting at the first verse. All right. So it reads, it says, in 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before power and men, or the Lord and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, and a man and wife that agree together, right? So this is kind of the promise for all camps, all brothers and sisters, that we dwell together and be unified, right? Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, New Testament. The great thing when you could be at an engagement, at a function, anywhere, and everybody's on the same page, same timetable. A lot of times that don't happen, where you have somebody who's a little bit off on their own doing some other thing, and they got another belief, or they want to do, take certain things a different direction. No. 1 Corinthians 1 and 10, it says, now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, or Yahushua Mashiach in the Hebrew, that's his original name in Hebrew, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, and that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment, right? So how you handle situations, y'all even in tune on that. When something goes left, y'all, the judgment that comes from that, y'all on the same page. And no one is offended when the judgment comes, because that is what everybody had agreed to. Everybody is understanding. So the source of that comes from the Bible, right? Same mind, our mind has to be in tune or in line with the Most High and Christ, based on the laws and the statutes and the judgments and the testimonies that are found in the scriptures. That's where we draw from. So we all should have that complete understanding. When we are there, man, it's beautiful. You feel comfortable. You have no issues with someone, either trying to do something on the underhand, trying to undermine you, right? Trying to usurp authority over you, or we all on the same page. We understand hierarchy, we understand positions and judgment, everything. So that was what Paul wrote to those that was in Corinth, because that wasn't happening, right? Everybody wasn't on the same page. Everybody didn't have the same mind. Same thing, which is indicative today. But when it happens, man, it is beautiful to behold, right? To see. And that's what's being conveyed here in these things. When the unity of brethren happens, when the men are all in alignment, guess what? It'll trickle down to the women, trickle down to the children, right? When you have that love of your brother, love of your neighbor, you're now really working in the image that the Most High Christ wanted us to have.
And like what you mentioned, it's the same what in Corinth, kind of what we have today. Some say, I want to follow this one. I want to follow Paul. I want to follow Peter. I want to follow Apollos. When in fact, Peter came out and said, whatever Paul is saying, he's building on the same foundation.
Right. Right. I'll get your question in a minute. Go to the book of Psalms. 3 quick precepts. Psalms 133. Psalms 133. We all know this one. And 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant. Let's go by. How good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity. It is like, or comparison to, the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down to the skirts of his garments. Right. So when Aaron was getting anointed from the other priests, it ran down. Right. It was like a blessing unto them. So it's like to see that unity amongst brothers is a beautiful thing. Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. Brother said, why would anyone study the Apocrypha? This is why this was highlighted in the Bible. So we read in 1 Corinthians 1 and 10 that there be no divisions, that we all in the same mind, right? So Romans 12 and 10, it says, be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another, right? You prefer someone over yourself, right? You become humble. Sometimes pride steps in and you think because you probably been in a situation longer than someone, right? They should reverence you, or your chest is out, or you're puffed up. But here, you're kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love. The same desires that you have for yourself, you have for other people, and you would prefer that even over yourself. Nah, brother, you go ahead. Nah, you go ahead. Nah, you go ahead, brother. Right? Because you want to see them succeed. Right? You want to get them to a space that the Most High is accepted of them as well. First Peter's. This is, say again? No, that was Romans 12 and 10. Yeah. And then another one, I'm going to go to First Peter's. First Peter's. Because there's going to be a lot on this one a little bit later on as it pertains to relationships. I'm going to come back to this one too, but this is First Peter's 3 and 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them, speaking about your wives, according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Right? So men, we have to deal with our wives and make sure that they are in the same mind, right? Because they're also a part of this redemption that's going to come. And you want to have them be in the same mind as we are with the brethren, trying to align ourselves to Yahweh Shah, right? So it's key for unity to start with the scriptures. This is why we have classes, right? This is why we have classes on Tuesdays and Fridays for those who are inquisitive, like It's Lit Toilet, right? For those who have questions as to why we do this, why we're using the King James Version Bible and not the NIV Version Bible, right? Like it says in 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show yourself approved. So we had to study different things. We had to study different books, even books that we know have bones in them, like quote unquote, the book of Enoch, right? Some people prefer the book of Enoch, but we had to align it with all the other precepts and verses and things in the Bible. And when we found out that what's in the Apocrypha, it aligns to what's in the 66 books. It was a part of the original 1611 Bible, right? Certain pieces of history that we now read about in the New Testament are gaps that's filled from the Apocrypha. From the book of the Maccabees to the first and second Esdras, all of these in alignment. Now, we also had to study, because I knew later on they came out with a third Maccabees and a fourth Maccabees and all these other different books. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know that they had that in their Apocrypha, but they didn't. But man went and came up with these other books. So we had to study that. And when I studied that, I was like, this don't align to what also is already in the existing books. And we had to consort with brothers from different camps, and everybody understood, like, nah, that's not holy. That's not thus saith the Lord. That's not in reference to what we already have in the Gospels or in the epistles that they refer to the Old Testament. So now for the deep search, the deep understanding, if you stay around, if you're still here, It's Lit Toilet, to the end of the service, we'll give you the information where you can join in on a Tuesday class and a Friday class, and we can go into the nooks and crannies of why this book or why not book. Why this people and that not that people, and go into all those intricacies, right? Today we're just going to go through these two chapters, try to go through it in detail, and then get through it as a service, because usually it takes about
2 to 3 hours to go through all of this, and we want to make sure we get through that and not get pulled left. So that makes sense to you. If your children want to stay, depending on who you are, then we'll give you that information. But quiet.
Right. And also, prior to us being corrupted with doctrine of Christianity, the Apocrypha, along with the Old Testament and New Testament, was considered sacred by us, our people, right? And it was written between the time of the Old Testament and the New Testament, and it was always considered sacred. Then when Christianity comes, then they start to, we start become corrupted with Christianity. Then we start to doubt the Apocrypha, but it was always considered part of the Bible, the sacred book, Old and New Testament.
Right. Come on. Amos 3:3. Amos 3:3 says, "Can two walk together except they be agreed?" Right? And how do you get into agreement? Then you prove yourselves, right? When you walk with somebody, you're going through different experiences and circumstances, and your discernment or your decision making, if it aligns, you continue to walk. But if it now doesn't align, you break off from that, right? You going this way, and the person's decisions that said, no, I want to do this. I want to go over here. And then what happens? You can't walk no more. There's going to be contention. So that's where brothers try to come together under this. It's not a personal thing. It's not my knowledge. It's not my wisdom. It's the Most High in Christ. So we follow under the Most High in Christ and what information they give us to now become men, to become sons, to become women, to become daughters, to become wives, to become husbands, teachers, students, right? All of this is given through these principles that we read throughout the Bible, right? These are not just good storylines, right? Shalom, Aliyah Aina, Shalom, Yakazakala. Called a brain freeze. All right, so let's go back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, and we're at verse 2. It says, 3 sorts of men my soul hateth, and I am greatly offended at their life. A poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an adulterer that doteth, right? So when you look at men's lives and you analyze them, right? Scriptures, people say, you're not supposed to judge. It's not fully what the Bible is getting after, right? Because a person's lifestyle, how they lead or carry themselves, when you observe it consistent, and that's indicative of who they are, you're going to make an assessment of them. You're going to make a decision if you align yourself to them, or you're going to make a decision or judgment to step away from them. You may rebuke them, you may try to correct them, but you're going to make a thought decision off of that, a judgment of how you carry yourself or move around them in certain spaces. And this is indicative of what someone would not like to be around, right? It says a poor man that is proud, meaning you have nothing, but you still have a prideful heart, right? You think it's almost like when people say, what's the word when a person is entitled to certain things, or they feel that they should command a certain level of respect, or someone is compelled to do something for you. Yeah, you have a certain level of seniority, or whatever that may be that you conscribe in your mind, right? It says in Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs 16:5. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord, right? Normally you would see a lot of pride, someone who's poor, who's fallen down, who's low on, their circumstance and finances. They're humble, right? They're trying to come humble. Imagine someone comes prideful to you, right? You can be like, yo, hold on. You think you're a little bit beside yourself, right? That is an abomination to the Most High, because the Most High sometimes will bring you down to humble you. A lot of times, certain circumstances, well, let me say a lot. Sometimes circumstances happens to an individual as a form of humbling, right? You probably carried your life where you were prideful, and the Most High had to take certain things away from you, bring you down to humble your spirit. And then if you don't take that correction, you're still prideful. The Most High says that is an abomination. It says, though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished, which is going into, that's a double meaning in that verse, right? Because the prideful person that is speaking about in this verse pertains to a certain people. And a lot of times people join hand in hand with them. Most High are going to judge them. But the overarching context is pride is an abomination to the Most High, and an individual should not have those practices. Go to chapter 12. Go to chapter 12 and verse 22. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. Abomination, like you have something that might be detested, like, I got a problem with that. Like, I don't like when you do that. But then when it becomes an abomination, it's like you utterly detest it. Like it's like, people have pet peeves, right? A pet, like somebody that is irksome. It's like, yo, stop. I gotta leave because I hate what you're saying or I hate what you're doing. That's how the Lord views certain things that we do, right? Whether it's lying or you become prideful, entitled, whatever, the Lord says in an abomination. But they that deal truly are his delight, right? You got to be fair. You got to be on the up and up, right? Today is hard in this society because society breeds, it teaches you indirectly how to lie, right? And you don't realize it. Like, for instance, we just talking before the service, we was talking about, advancement and using technology and certain things. But like when you go for a job and they say you got to get your resume done, you are taught to lie on your resume. It's just a little old white lie, right? Change your resume up and just put certain things in there to cater to what they want, right? Just spice it up, buff it up, like change. Like, yeah, but I never learned that. Did you ever watch it on TV? Yeah, I did. Okay, you learned it. Put it on there. You're like, really? That's how this works? Yeah, right. And indirectly, when those things continue to happen around in your space, time and time, day in and day out, then you start to become that. But the Lord says that's an abomination. And if you deal truly, who knows if you're truthful, right? Expand your truthfulness, like work on expanding your qualities as opposed to bringing in something else that you really never did. And maybe the Most High will do a work for you because you're trying to be honest and sincere and truthful. Resume catfishing. Done.
Last week I was talking to one of my customers. He said he got a job. And I said, how did you get this job? He said, man, listen, I told him I haven't done this before, but I'm willing to learn.
Right.
He said, all
Right.
right. They said that's how they give him.
Right.
They said, I don't like when you tell me you do this and we put you to the test.
And you don't do it.
Find out you can't do it.
Right.
It's our time and you think you be slick.
Where's the program book?
Right.
Computer expert with the program book.
Kind of then it says that last precept, and an adulterer that doteth, right? So doteth means showing excessive, foolish, or unhealthy fondness, affection, or obsession towards something or someone, right? Often implying a loss of sound judgment. So here it is, someone who's an adulterer and is somewhat prideful about it. He's bragging about it, right? So you've committed the sin and you're bragging about the sin, right? That's a person. You got one and then you did the two, put them together. A person would hate that, right? Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. I'm going to start at 20. So it says, for I fear lest when I come, I shall not find you such as I would, and that I should be found unto you such as you would not, lest there be debates, envyings, wrath, strifes, backbitings, whisperings, swellings, tumults, right? So you always want to see or hear about that the affairs and everything is in good order. But sometimes you might hear otherwise, and this is what he's getting with. It says, unless when I come again, my power will humble me among you, and that I should bewail many which have sinned already and have not repented of the uncleanness and fornication and lasciviousness which they have committed. That's a person who doted, right? You haven't repented, you continue to do it, and you brag about it, right? That's wicked. Imagine you in the truth and you got a friend or a family member who's going around sleeping with somebody else's wife, and they come and they telling you, yo, I was doing this and that to her. You're like, really, brother? You talking about that man's, what you did with that man's wife? He's on a business trip and you, what? Sure, she's wicked, but dang, man, that'll be like hateful to hear somebody act like that, man. So that's what even Paul saw was happening even at Corinth, letting you know that sometimes these things is like a cycle, it's a circle. It just didn't happen back then, it's also happening right now. And we use those testimonies and we use those experiences on how to handle and deal with things today, right? All right, so let's go. Let's move forward. Let's go to back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 25. 25:3. If thou hast gathered nothing in thy youth, how canst thou find anything in thine age, right? So it's really, you could look at it twofold as far as for a young child, literal, he needs to learn, outside of just a regular education, he needs to learn, principles, right? That's why sometimes you'll see kids playing in the play box and the one kid wants to take somebody else's stuff. He's like, you can't do that. Share your stuff. And he's like, well, I got to share. And he's going, no. You got to learn all these principles growing up. So when you get to an adulthood, you know how to conduct yourself. If you learn none of these principles, what are you going to be when you get older? It's the same thing in this truth, in the spirit, right? Go to Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. And verse 18. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age, right? If you're not gathering up the instruction, these principles, these testimonies, if you're not putting them to action, meaning executing them when you go out there in the world, you read about it, it's good, I got to understand it, but when you go out there, you don't execute. You still go and do your own thing. Then you really haven't learned anything. You're not going to retain that knowledge. You're going to be acting on your own understanding instead of what the Most High showed. So that's what the principle here is, to learn as much as you can, observe, build upon experiences for later years. And then after a while, people are going to be coming to you as an elder, as an aged woman, to get guidance and sound advice, right? Go to Proverbs chapter 4. Proverbs chapter 4. And verse 10. It says, hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many, right? So even age, sometimes length of years, comes from wisdom, right? It comes from your actions. Even in the commandments, when it talks about honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land or the earth that the Lord giveth thee, there's understanding and honor. How do you honor your father and your mother so that you can have long life? Even if you may have an illness or certain thing, how do you honor them? What does that mean? That comes from studying these principles to get what the true meaning means, right? Because we read in the gospel, it says, if you don't hate your mother and father more than me, you ain't worthy. It's like a contradiction. On one hand, you tell me to honor them, and on another hand, you say I'm supposed to hate them. I'm confused. This is where you come and you get the instructions
from the youth up to understand when you get older what that truly means. All right. So going back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 4, it says, "Oh, how comely a thing is judgment for gray hairs, and for ancient men to know counsel." Right. So once you start from young and you get old, man, it's a beautiful thing when you can go to a elder statesman, man or woman, in this truth and get sound judgment. Right. There may be something that may be hard for you. You're battling with, you're struggling with it. You send a text or you give a call. Yo, I got a problem. I'm trying to overcome this demon, or I can't figure out this breakdown, or I'm having a problem at work, and that person can give you sound advice and judgment. It says, "Oh, how comely a thing is judgment for gray hairs, and for ancient men to know counsel." Right? It's good to have men and women around like that, because without it, you kind of be searching, right? You kind of be aimlessly going about making your own thoughts. But the Lord has these teachers. He has these men spread out. He said they're not pushed in corners no more. Now they're right there in front of you where you can go and ask these questions and get these answers. Verse 5, "How comely is the wisdom of old men, and understanding and counsel to men of honor." Right? So a lot of times when you look at age, you think age, attributes to wisdom in anybody. No, right? Wisdom comes from, understanding these principles and then executing it, right? You have to be a man of the Most High to receive the just due honor that is really attributed to what you read in the Bible. Go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, and verse 8. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, and verse 8. "For honorable age," keyword is honorable, "age is not that which standeth in length of time." You could be 96 years old. Somebody made it 102 years old. Doesn't make them honorable to the Most High, right? It says, "Nor that is measured by number of years. But wisdom is the gray hair unto men, and an unspotted life is old age," right? So to get that honor in your old age, you have to live an unspotted life. What does it mean to live an unspotted life? Sins, transgressions, and iniquities are like spots in your life, right? They go against you. So now you need to understand, well, what accounts to a sin? What is an iniquity, right? If I eat bad things, if I'm saying that today on so-called Lupercalia, Valentine's Day, I'm going to go get chocolates to go out here and do what? Sex this woman, because that's for the men. That's what I want, right? I'm going to get a teddy bear. Like the brother said, they got teddy bears all day long on the corners. I'm going to go get me a teddy bear, a box of chocolates, and give it to somebody, may take her out to a little thing. And what do we expect? A little something, right? An honorable person knows that that's not what we would want to do, because the law tells us how women should be. The laws tell us how a man should conduct himself, right? So honorable age comes from being unspotted in this life, that no one can put a blame on you for doing something wrong according to the principles that we read here in the Bible. Yes, True Christian channel. Go to Job chapter 32. This is a True Christian channel. Job 32 and verse 7. It says, "I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom," right? That wisdom comes from how you execute what the Most High gives us in the scriptures, right?
And it has to be according to that and nothing else. One more, Proverbs 16. So just because they old don't mean that they got wisdom. Wisdom comes from here. Proverbs 16:31. The hoary head, or that old gray hair, right? The hoary head is a crown of glory if it be found in the way of righteousness, right? If it be found in the way of righteousness. That old man, that old woman. Romans 10:5 tells you righteousness comes from the law. Moses taught us that from the beginning. The laws came from the Most High God to keep us unspotted from the world. So if you're still out there eating any kind of food that you choose to eat, you still celebrating or worshiping false gods and false holidays, then that is not wisdom, that is not righteousness, and you are not an honorable man or woman at that time or that day. One more, 2 Maccabees. Again, for those who don't have the Apocrypha, which is a part of the original Bible, King James Version Bible, I put the link, if you scroll up, to where you can go and read along. 2 Maccabees chapter 6. Honorable men, 6:23. It says, but he, speaking about Eleazar, who was being seduced to put out an image that he was eating clean meat as opposed to wicked, abominable meat or food. They wanted him to be set as an example that it would cause other people to eat swine's flesh, so to speak, right? And he didn't want to do that. It says, but he began to consider discreetly, and as his became his age and the excellency of ancient years and the honor of his gray head, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. See how that came full circle? From a child, he learned the law given by the Most High God. And over time, he built up the instruction so that when he became of age, wisdom set in that says, you know what, based on the testimonies that I learned from reading the other books and scriptures and storylines, I can't do this. I'm going to have to die today, right? So that I can stay in an honor with the Most High, that after I leave, people will remember my honorable works. And don't say that he was a sellout. He was a traitor to his people and stain his name, blot his name, put all kind of spots on his name, right? So he was a good example, or one of the examples that we read in the scriptures about learning from your youth and then it kind of translating into your adulthood. And then that stayed persistent because he made the wise choice to keep himself in the spirit of the Lord. All right, so let's go back. Ecclesiasticus 25. We at verse 6 now. Ecclesiasticus 25 and 6. It says, much experience is the crown of old men, and the fear of God is their glory, right? Continuing on in that theme that when you get of age with the instructions, you gain experience. Go to Romans chapter 5. Romans chapter 5. And verse 3. Romans 5:3 says, and not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope, right? So that's the cycle. You're going to be put into certain situations or circumstances to make decisions, right? You're going to catch hell or go through whatever that might not be seen reasonable for the moment, but it's a test. The Lord is testing your faith to see if what you read, what you were taught, you digested it and you understand it, and now you got to apply it. And then once you do that, it says it's going to work patience. because they're going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to come, but you're still working with the Lord. You're still in favor of. You didn't leave this. You just says, "Nah, I can't take this no more. I'm out." Right? It was much better when I was into the modern day, the other Christianity, when they were teaching that other Jesus. When I was in the Baptist church, when I was in that, it was fine. But now I'm trying to walk this walk of what I read in the Bible. Man, it ain't all that easy. I don't know if I can stay in this. But if you're sincere, it'll work patience in you. And then from that patience, what it says, experience. And then that experience will become the crown on your old head, right? You get a spiritual crown resting on you. All right. So let's go back. Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 7 now. Again, for those who just joined, we're going through 2 chapters in the Apocrypha, chapter 25 of Ecclesiasticus and chapter 26, verse by verse. Verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemies, right? Children, raised up properly, can be a good portion to a man and a woman. Go to Psalms 127. Says it a little bit more eloquently here. Psalms 127 and verse 3. Psalms 127 and verse 3. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward, right? To bring in another generation of followers of his will, right? Especially if they understand the will of the Lord. They can become a heritage to his name. It says, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. It says, as arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth, right? So now you have, a weapon to carry on, to fight against evil, to fight against wickedness in your kids, that they're going to continue the standard, right? So that can become something that will be happy to any nation or any people, any tribe, any family, to have that continue on, where you can look and see, man, those are, upstanding children. Their reputation precedes them, even because of their parents. Go to 29, Proverbs 29. How does that happen? Proverbs 29 and verse 17. It says, correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest, right? Meaning rest from weariness. Imagine you got a disrespectful child, a wild child that's out there. You get no rest because your thoughts is going to be on, what are they doing now? To get that call that they locked up. Somebody told me they seen them out there doing this or that, right? But if you correct them at the time when they need correction, and he shall give thee rest, and he shall give delight unto thy soul. That's what everybody wants. What is it? Chris Rock, in one of his stand-ups, he says one of the main jobs for a follower's daughter is to keep her off the pole, right? Keep her off the pole, meaning she's not lascivious. She's not out there acting like a whore. Imagine you and your age, you at work, and somebody in there whispering and talking about them going to the strip club, even though it shouldn't be at the strip club, but they talking about your daughter. And you the laughing stock, right? You going to work, you put in 8-10 hours, and you got to deal with that. Correct them while they're young, and you'll have rest in your soul. They become a heritage unto you later on, right? Go to Psalm chapter 54, because it says to see the fall of your enemies. Psalms 54 and 7. Actually, I'm going to start at 1. It says, save me, O power, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O power, give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set Yahweh before them, or the Most High before them. So we as a people who are, looked at and viewed as the slaves that was brought here, this was us back then when we was going through the hard bondage. And it's still us today, because you see what's happening with us right now, right? ICE is running rampant. Only majority, is that a word? I don't know. Mainly to the people from the 12 tribes. I'm pretty sure there's some undocumented Koreans. Pretty sure there's some undocumented Chinese. I'm pretty sure there's some undocumented Arab. Why I don't see them on TV getting chased down? Why not them? Why it's only one people? Yeah. Even these Europeans. All of the Europeans, right? But it's one people. So this is why it says in verse 3, for strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set the Most High before them, meaning to set his standard before them. We say in God we trust, but the laws are not indicative of God's law. It says, behold, God is mine helper. The Lord is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth. I will freely sacrifice unto thee. I will praise thy name, O Lord, for it is good. For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and my eye have seen his desire upon my enemies. Meaning the Lord is going to have judgment against the enemies of his people as they pray to him for justice. Because the people who are the oppressors don't have the Most High set before them, right? To judge with equity or to judge righteously, right? So the Most High and Christ have to intervene at the said time. All right. So let's go back. Ecclesiasticus chapter 25. We have verse 8. Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding, and that have not slipped with his tongue, and that have not served a man more unworthy than himself. Man, that last one hit hard. That you serve someone more unworthy than yourself, right? Man, that's hard to deal with, right? You at your job or you somewhere, and your boss or your supervisor is a fool, a literal fool. And you a man or a woman of wisdom, some sound mind, and you have to answer to that person. They're making irrational, wild decisions. And what can you do? Right? Unless you find another job, unless you put yourself in another position, you're going through some craziness. But it's well if you dwell with a wife with understanding, and you don't slip with your tongue, and you never put in position where you have to serve somebody unworthy than yourself. Right? That's living in peace. The first part with the wife we're going to get to as we read later on. I think it's going to have a lot of precepts pertaining to the wickedness of a woman or wives themselves. But it's just letting you know before you enter into certain things, think before you make irrational decisions, right? Discern the environment, discern the woman, discern the circumstance where you don't slip with your tongue. Right? The tongue is a powerful weapon. Very powerful. Don't let no one fool you. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. It's a lie. That's a lie. Words cause a lot of harm, danger, start wars, right? Which leads to death. So you try to be very careful with your words. Verse 9. Well is him that hath found prudence, and he that speaketh in the ears of them that will hear. Right? It kind of reminds me sometimes you teaching wisdom, and you may have a small audience. The majority of people rebuking or scoffing. They don't want to hear sound doctrine. Well is him that have found prudence, who've made the wise decisions and choices to do that which the Lord have asked, and he that speaketh in the ears of them that will hear. Right? It says, oh, how great is he that findeth wisdom, yet is there none above him that feareth the Lord. So you can have wisdom, but don't fear the Most High. Interesting, right? You could be in these different camps. You could be in these classes, following the principles, but you really don't fear the Most High, right? You just here because you see the nice place to come hang out, right? Or amongst the body, amongst the brethren and brothers and sisters, you do it out of show. But when the time comes, when tribulation and what have you does come, you really don't fear, right? When you're questioned about why you're serving this, you conceal and you hide. You don't want to come forth and say that this is the right way, that I'm going to do this even though they don't approve. You don't fear the Most High. You fear man. That was King Saul's downfall. He feared the people and didn't fear the Most High. Even though he knew what right and wrong was, he feared the people over the Most High. Why?
I was going to say, which is the foundation. You can have wisdom, which is, like you said, application of the law, but you don't understand and you don't fear the Most High. You don't have the foundation, which is the number one principle, having the foundation. Meaning the house is built on sand. It's not built on the rock, which is Christ.
Yeah. Reading on verse 11. Oh, Nabiya. Ecclesiasticus chapter 19 and verse 22.
Sorry, 24.
24.
We see that small understanding and fear of God is better than him to have much wisdom and transgresseth the law of the Most High.
Done. So the Lord puts things in measure based on how much you know.
It's almost like you find somebody, man, they can break down to a bunch of stuff and break down, that brother's on point in what he said. Do you give the law? Nah, I don't deal with that. So that means you have a bunch of good knowledge, you can convince people, but the very core foundation you don't have.
Right. It's like what you see in the New Testament with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, right? They talk a good game, but they don't do it, right? They impose burdens on the people that they themselves wouldn't do. That's what Yahushua said. He said, follow what they say, but don't do what they do, right? So they would be indicative of what we see here with somebody who has found wisdom. They got it, but they don't fear the Most High, right? They have an alternative motive behind why they do things, right? It's a show. They want to be seen good in front of the eyes of men to receive reward from man. Yahushua, Christ brought all that out when you read in the Gospels. So we have verse 11. But the love of the Lord passeth all things for illumination or for light. He that holdeth it, whereunto shall he be likened, right? So the love of the Most High is his law. 1 John 5:3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? That's 1 John 5:3. Then when you go to Ecclesiastes, because once you have that love, once you have that knowledge, then you can become illuminated. Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 8, verse 1. It says, who is as the wise man, and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. So when you have this form of love, which is according to the laws and the testimonies,
The Lord tells you you will have wisdom, and then it will make your face to shine. Somewhat like what Moses went through when he came off the mount for 40 days, getting history, getting law, getting prophecy, right? All of those things he got within a matter of 40 days. Moses was shown the beginning and the end of times. So that's why his face shone the way it was, right? Ours is in measure right now, right? We're getting it in measure bit by bit. But when you do get that measure, over time, wisdom will make your face to shine. People will start to see something different in you. Your walk is different. Your talk is different, right? Your patience level is different. How you speak to people is different, right? All of that people will observe. So that was the rhetorical question. Who is as the wise man? Who is that wise man out there? And who is the one that understands these breakdowns or the parables or the deep mysteries and the dark sayings that the Most High puts out there? And it's not meant for everybody to understand. Who is that guy? That guy, his face is different. His countenance looks different, right? That's where you begin to now elevate to a higher level. All right, let's go back. Oh.
Chapter 4, verse 2.
Baruch chapter 4 and verse 2. That last, I guess, when you speak in Kahanabiya, I got to probably speak up because I see.
So this is Baruch chapter 4 and verse 2. Turn ye, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated.
And also you can write down Sirach chapter 1, starting at verse 8 on down. He'll give you all the breakdowns of fear, fearing the Most High, what it will do for you.
Okay. So back in Ecclesiasticus 25, we have verse 12 now. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him, right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, right? We read in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Ecclesiasticus 12:13. I'm sorry, Ecclesiastes 12:13, where it says, for let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, right? So that's where that fear sets in at, right? That's the beginning of his love. It says, for this is the whole duty of man, right? So this is your main job. You may have a regular 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 10 to whatever that may be. That's just to produce income. But your job while you're on the earth is to make sure that you fear the Most High and keep his commandments, to have that unity amongst the brothers, right? And then it says faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him, right? So where does faith begin? Go to Romans. It's a portion of it. Thought it was in Romans. Is it Romans 8? Faith by hearing. Bear with me 1 second. It's probably right there in front of my face.
Romans 10.
Yeah, that's the one I want. The water. Romans chapter 10. Romans 10 and 17. Actually, I'm going to start at 15. It says, and how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them which preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah saith, Lord, who have believed our report? Right. So when the gospel or the good news, the good tidings has been taught,
everybody don't believe the word. So the word is where you're going to start building your faith. It says, so then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So that's what Isaiah was questioning. Lord, who have believed our report? The report came from the words of the Most High, the prophets and the experience that they was teaching the people. Today we come back and we start reading these, and some people are like, nah, I don't believe that. I don't think we should be still doing that. Not my God. That's not my Jesus. The color don't matter. This don't matter. You start going to this other stuff. You don't have faith where it should be. You got faith in other things.
Kind of like when you read in Isaiah, who have believed our report, right? Believe is more so like it's the gate, it's the starting point, it's the opening door, right? If they don't even believe, then we don't even have a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Then faith is when you believe. Now you start trusting in what you believe. Trusting on the Most High.
Yep. Continually. Right. So reading on Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, we at verse 13. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. Right? Man, right? Give me any plague but the plague of your heart, which is your mind. Imagine that when you lose your mind, you bug out, right? You don't have your wits about you. You can deal with a lot of things, certain illnesses and diseases, certain pains of the body. But when your mind is lost, when you bug out, sometimes you may see people who out there, they just talking out of their mind. The Most High probably put a curse on them where they're hearing spirits and they're battling, arguing with certain things and they don't have sound. You don't want that, because then you're fighting against yourself and you're not able to make true discernment of how to walk in the Most High. And then it compares or parallels that to any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. Man, right? We talk about Malachi with, the border of wickedness being Esau, right? And that's bad. But to have that type of wickedness in your house, if you're dwelling within your people, to have wickedness like that comes, you don't want that. I'd rather deal with that wickedness that came from Esau, because I know that the Most High is already giving a judgment on that. I already know what types of things he's going to be doing. I'm reading about him. I kind of know his actions and his intent. But the wickedness of a woman, man, they become erratic sometimes. It comes from all different angles. Sometimes you see it in movies and things. Sometimes you sleep. You got that type of energy in your household. You sleep, she up, just looking at you, contemplating certain things that you're going to do. You turn over, wake up, what the heck? It's like, yo, I don't know, man. There's no peace, right? So the wickedness of a woman, man, it could be. I see certain things on social media, man. I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is just hard to watch, hard to see. Yeah. Or a whole bunch of other. I seen one time a brother was going through something with his rib, and he came home. He had all his clothes on the floor, and she went and cut holes in every piece of uniform and everything he had that he had. So now when he went to work, it was all holed up. Right. And it's like little things, like how they said 6 million ways to die, or you die by 1,000 cut. Like that could be that.
Remember when Dr. Dre was divorcing his wife?
Mm-hmm.
And she was going to the bank and taking a large sum of money.
Right.
Just pulling money from everywhere.
Because you still might have some level of trust. You still might have some level of care. But man, that could go crazy. Now, the wickedness of a woman is on a high. When we read later on, like you read in Proverbs 31, we was talking about it this evening in the class. there are righteous and virtuous women out there, but the bad apples, there's a lot of bad apples that spoil the bunch. So sometimes when people speak about women, they speak in holistic terms where it's like, yeah, women could be this. There's not to say that all women are like that. Not to say that they're not women who, there's some women who are not in the truth that still have some form of decorum and morality about them. I said this last night. I kind of liken it to those who was like disciples of John, but they didn't fully understand Yahushua. They got to a certain level, but they needed the extra to bring them full, to make them whole. You have some women out there, or like Ezekiel 9:4, those who sigh and cry out for the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Right? I see some sisters said, brothers, don't go out there and do that for these women. Don't do this. You like, dang, this sister is, she got a little knowledge behind her, right? She may not understand the dietary laws fully and so forth and so on, but she has certain measure. So you have that out there, but there's a lot that overpowers that, right? So as we read on, we're going to get into that in 3/4 of this. You have something else, Yawakanan?
It says Proverbs 31:3. It said, give not thy strength unto woman, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings.
Meaning?
Yeah,
give not thy strength to a woman. What does this mean?
Don't let her have so much power over you.
Right.
So when her wickedness comes, she just want to destroy you and take, half of what you have and all of that stuff, and just ruin you completely.
Right.
Not only half of what you have, is that she knows all your secrets on how to take you down. Right? Not just financially, but mostly your wisdom, how you think. She knows how to trick you. Right. So that's why you gotta have some reserve about how you do things.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the issues with relationships. It came out in some of the think tanks and discussions where within so-called Black and Hispanic relationships, as they're beginning to develop, men are very secretive, right? They don't disclose all their weaknesses or things that happen, because when it does happen and then something does go wrong, that's why you such and such and such and such. You're like, yo, what, for real? Like, you just put that out there like that? So then you become more guarded, and you don't want to be transparent or vulnerable, right? It's going to take a lot for you to trust a certain woman to see if she carries those characteristics that you see these other women like.
Don't be like when she said, tell me everything.
Not right up front. Right, even in that, not just with women, right? That's in general, because the scriptures tell you to prove somebody first, right? You got to prove a friend. You just don't go out there and just say, I'm cool with this guy on my job, or I know I see this guy on the bus, and you just pour out all your secrets to him. No, you got to prove them. It may take a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 before you get to a point where you're really comfortable, like y'all been through some things, and then you can start saying certain things. That's why a lot of times today people do what? They feel more comfortable going to a therapist, because a therapist, you don't know them. You don't see them probably all the time. So you can go and just pour out all your secrets to them. And then after a while, okay, they ain't going to, come back and say nothing to me. But a person that you're going to be with consistently, you're going to be more reluctant to share those things right up the front. You got to prove them.
Ecclesiasticus 9:1. Be not jealous over the wife of thy bosom, and teach her not an evil lesson against thyself.
Okay, when you bring out the precept, you gotta break it down, brother.
No, I mean you don't blurt on it. You don't tell her everything, even something even about yourself, because the way social media now out there, you might even put it up against, put it out there against you, and have for your reputation.
So what is it? Read that again.
It's Ecclesiasticus 9:1. Be not jealous over the wife of thy bosom.
Stop. So what it means, be not jealous over the wife of thy bosom, right? You're choosing your wife over what righteous or the Most High is, right? You're more considering of her and her feelings right, of what she wants to care about. And then you going, just like the precept you pulled before, give not thy strength over her. You're giving up your strength, right? You just seeing things happen. He's allowing it to go down, right? And you don't care because you love her so much, right? And then she can take that. She can take that for her own power. And if there's a strand of wickedness that breathes in her, boom. Read.
And teach her not an evil lesson against thyself.
Right. And how do you teach her an evil lesson against yourself? When you turn a blind eye to wickedness, right? Like it says, a little leaven up the whole lump. You see the leaven brewing, you don't say anything. Just like a child, when a child is doing something wrong and there's no correction, you just taught him or her that it's okay. That it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. You've taught her an evil lesson against yourself, right? Because of whatever the circumstances are, you just allowed it. So there's a role and responsibility put upon men. There's a role and responsibility put upon women, right? There's a partnership in the marriage, but they have specific jobs or functions and duties to live by. 1 Corinthians 11:1 tells you that the head of the woman is the man. Just as it say, the man's head is Christ. Christ's head is the Most High God. There's a pecking order of authority and things that now has to come down. Not this, I'm on the same level as Yahushua. Yahushua is on the same level as the Most High. No, that's societal structure, not the wisdom of the Most High.
Yeah, Judges 16:15. And she said unto him, how canst thou say, I love thee, when thy heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth.
Don't walk.
Samson
Uh-huh.
and Delilah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she kept pressing him until he just blurred out.
Right.
Where his strength comes from.
Right. Which, in all actuality, the strength technically didn't come from his hair. But again, it was like a token between him and the Most High. But the strength came from the Most High. It's a gift. Yeah. Right? Because that's why when she cut all his hair off and he was, at the columns, he prayed to the Most High. And the Most High did what? Gave him back strength. And he was able to do what he did. So everything comes from the Most High as a gift. But there are tokens. Read them on. Ecclesiasticus 25, we have verse 14. It says, in any affliction but the affliction of them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of my enemies. Right? Go to First Chronicles chapter 21 with this affliction and this revenge that comes from your enemies. First Chronicles chapter 21. And 11. First Chronicles chapter 21 and 11. So Gad came to David and said unto him, thus saith the Lord, choose thee either 3 years of famine or 3 months to be destroyed before thy foes, while that the sword of thine enemies overtake thee, or else 3 days of the sword of the Lord, even the pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord destroying throughout all the coast of Israel. Now therefore advise thyself what word I shall bring again to him that sent me. Right? So this is after King David was persuaded or seduced by Satan to number the people. Right? And this is the judgment that was now coming. The Most High gave him options of what he wanted. Verse 13. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let me fall now into the hand of the Lord, for very great are his mercies, but let me not fall into the hand of man. Right? So when you're going through the afflictions of man or the revenge of man, man don't put, mercy and grace in the matter. They're gonna go. Hey, listen, you ain't my family, you ain't my people. They're going all out. Sometimes way far beyond that they should go. But the Most High will have mercy, as we've seen throughout the testimonies when the Lord was judging his people. Sometimes it repented him and he stopped.
because he had love for his people. Man won't do the same, right? So you always want to fall in the hand of the Most High and never into the hand of man. And if you do fall into the hand of man, you still got to go pray to the Most High that he will put a spirit on your enemies to bear you a little mercy, right? The Most High got to change their spirit. Same thing like we did. You read about in Purim, which is coming up in a few weeks, how the Most High changed the heart or mind of King Ahasuerus, right? He changed his spirit, where he was probably going to come and take Sister Esther out, but the Most High changed his spirit right quick in a hurry after she prayed, and then things went in her favor, or in our favor at that time. So going back, we had Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, and we have verse 15. It says, there is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy, comparing the enemy to a serpent, like a viper or a cobra or a snake, right? That has a lot of poison in it to strike and to kill you. The venom that comes out, right? Go to Psalms 58. Psalms 58 and verse 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent, right? So when you read this psalm, as in many psalms, a lot of times you're reading an allegory. You're reading a parable, right? It's not always straight up, because there's the wicked here is speaking about a people, right? And it's paralleling them to being a serpent. The words that they spew is like poison. A lot of times people don't even look at it as poison. They drinking poison. They're consuming it, and it's killing them, right? It says they are like the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear, right? So in parallel, a serpent, an adder, or a snake is in parallel to wicked people or a nation. When you read the Bible, like we said, come to class on Tuesday, Friday night, and we can go through the precepts to get understanding on these sayings. But that's what that head is, right? It's there to kill you, right? When you see it, you never see, sometimes you see that snake rise up, you about to flee, you about to bounce, because you get hit, you're going to die.
And he has a way of camouflaging in any environment.
Yep.
You take the shape of that environment. The leaves, his skin kind of changes.
Blends in.
Blends in.
Yep.
Kind of like the Esau. He blends in, he becomes everybody. In every society, he come up as being that individual.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's pretty much what is being described as food. There's no wicked that is more wicked than Esau.
Right. So going back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, we have verse 16 now. I have rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. Right. So you, like I said, you're going to see a lot of precepts coming out these last remaining verses pertaining to the wickedness of a woman. Go to Proverbs 21. Rather dwell with a lion or a dragon than to deal with the wicked, to keep house with a wicked woman. Now, you know,
Give you the balance too.
yes, because now when you think about it, right, you literally will not choose a lion to come in your house, but it's comparing it. This is how bad it is. I'm on pins and needles when I walk in my house. I don't know what she's up to. I don't know what she did with the food. I don't know what she do when she live in the house, right? And I'm questioning it. So Proverbs 21 and 19, it is better to dwell in the wilderness than with the contentious and angry woman, right?
So there's a lot of these, right? 25, Proverbs 25 and 24. It is better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house, right? It's better you go live in that little corner, stay in that corner. You got a big house. You can have it all. I ain't even coming in there. I'm just gonna just stay up in my little humble abode over here because I don't want to deal with it. Every time you soon as you enter into the space, right? It's an argument. It's a quarrel. It's a brawl. Sometimes it get physical, right? And a lot of times you can look at this stems back because of not keeping the law, breaking the covenant. Deuteronomy 28:54, right? 28:55. Is it 55 or 56 when it flips to the woman? 56. Deuteronomy 28:56, right? The curse was put on a man, then the curse was put on the woman. How do you fix that, right? You come back to the law, Deuteronomy 10 and 12. What's your requirement? What is the most I ask of you? Men, women, is to keep the commandments. Understand your role and your position. That way you won't continue in these curses, right? Ecclesiastes 7. I don't even know why I don't even have to pull all these precepts because we're going to mention so many more coming up. Ecclesiastes 7:26. And I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth Yahweh shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Right? So there's a lot of wicked women out there. Yeah. Right. Proverbs 31. It's, you know, it's like, it's to me for women, it's like when you read, because there's a lot of these precepts, and if you're a righteous sister, you might feel like, dang, read some good ones, brother. Where's all the good ones? There are good ones there, but it's like sometimes when you got some camps that may be a bit too abrasive, too rough, right? And then people come back and be like, dang, I was just walking by and the brother, I just asked a question. He said, told me to shut the hell up. It's like, what? Yeah, it's all y'all like that. Because, yeah, it's a, right? And then it's like, man, certain behaviors of certain men or certain camps kind of falls on others. And you'd be like, nah, that's not how y'all are. We not all like that. Like, that's not how Christ operated. That's not how everything is. So you get into a mind where you want to always speak that is positive, but sometimes there's bad apples out there and overshadow. So even with women, there's way more wicked women in the world, especially within Israel, more wicked women than righteous women. Same thing for men. There's more wicked men than righteous men, right? But again, Proverbs 8:4, unto you, O men, I call. The Bible is written predominantly to men. So when we read these things, it's setting the course for men to be able to discern and have prudence on how and what you see out there with the women, to be able to begin to rebuke and correct in the structure. Because without it, like the brother said, most men are going to get caught up by these types of women, right? They're going to go out there and seek out these type of women. And then what? Entangle themselves into all kind of nonsense. So the Lord had to be repetitive and kind of showing you all these different circumstances of how there's wickedness within our people, within women in general, and what to avoid, because it's all about nation building. We're trying to repair and build the nation. So there's certain characteristics, certain things you have to avoid, right? Certain things you have to avoid when you're dealing with some of these sisters, right? Not to say that you got to avoid certain things when it comes to certain men, right? But again, this is written to the righteous men who are trying to do better or get it right. So what did I read? I read 17. No, I read 16. So I just read that in Ecclesiastes. And now we're going to continue on. So did I read it? I don't think I read it. I think I talked too much. I gotta stop talking. Comment too much. All right, no, I didn't read it. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 25. Solomon said, I applied mine heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things and to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness of madness. And I found more bitter than death the woman whose heart is in snares and nets and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth Yahweh, I did read it, shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Right. So that last part is going to touch on a little bit later on. The sinner shall be taken by her. Meaning if you wrapped up in sin, you're not keeping these laws, you're gonna marry that woman.
Indeed, Solomon got entangled.
Yeah, he got entangled, caused him to sin. Right. At one point, Solomon was on point. In his older age, as he got up there in years and he consorted with more of these heathen women, they got the best of him. If even Solomon got caught out there, it's more of a testimony to the men now to be able to discern certain behaviors, right? That's why even those precepts that you read, Yahweh Kanan, they hold weight. So going back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, we have verse 17. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth, right? So, what a lot of times what comes to mind right now is like you ever see certain artists, mainly female sisters, whether it's Rihanna, a Beyonce, whatever sister, when they first come in the game, they look pure, innocent, right? They have a certain look about them, but then when they get wrapped up in the industry, their countenance change. They go dark, right? They start looking, wearing more things, start having all different type of makeup that makes them look evil. But that's the industry that's now pushing it, but then they get themselves wrapped up, right? Rihanna, Good Girl, Gone Bad. That was her album. Yes, right. She had nice, happy music. But then all of a sudden, the spirit changes, their countenance changes, their mind changes, their talk changes. And that's what this is. And you seen it on TV, on public display. Sasha Fierce, right? And she tells you that she has an ulterior ego. Changes. Once she hit, boom, it comes out. Or when she's in the studio, boom, it comes out, right? That's what happens, as it says here. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. It brings them low, right? Which is sad to see. Sin brings that. Go to Genesis chapter 4, because they have to uphold certain principles. They're taught they have to keep certain rituals, and those rituals cause the change in them. Go to Genesis chapter 4 and verse 5. But unto Cain and to his offering, he had not respect. So this is now Cain and Abel bringing their offerings before the Most High, right? And the Most High didn't accept Cain's offering. It says, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell, right? Sin was in Cain. And now once it was exposed and once it was known, his disposition, his demeanor changed. Verse 6. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance or the look fallen or become sullen? Right? Something changed in you. Right? What happened? Because you didn't accept how I wanted to be. And a lot of times these celebrities, they battle in that inside. That's why they take the drugs. That's why they drink the alcohol, because it's a battle. They trying to fight the guilt that comes with what it is that they got to do. Right? That wickedness that they're doing, the spirit and the flesh, for those who came up somewhat pure, they battling it inside. And sometimes they can't control, and what happens? They OD. Some of them are overdose. trying to run away from those fears and those pains, the trauma that they had, the things that they were subjected to, like the Epstein files and this pedophilia. A lot of them come out and say, listen, we was touched or done this happened, when we was kids. And that messes them up. So there's a lot in that. But with this here, you can begin to spot, learning these understanding through experience, you begin to spot the signs on a person. Proverbs 15. His brother used to say, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Right? Proverbs 15:3. Proverbs 15 and 13. It says, a merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart, the spirit is broken. Right? So your spirit broken, it'll confer over to your countenance or your look, and it'll be seen that way. All right, so let's go back. You're almost reaching 2 hours, and I didn't get to the chapter, right? So we have verse 18. It says, her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly. Right? Go to Proverbs 31. It says, a husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth what? About her wickedness, he shall sigh bitterly. So the flip side of that is this, right? On Proverbs 31:23, it says, her husband is known in the gates of a virtuous and righteous woman. It says, and when he sitteth among the elders of the land. So that's when you get good report about your wife going out there doing good things, buying a property, land, making good investments, taking care of kids. All of that is like, yo, man, your wife is on point. But who want to sit amongst his fellow brethren and hear about, yo, man, I seen your wife walking down the street the other day. Man, brothers was seeing her cheeks and what? Yeah, your wife had on a skirt, brother. It was a little bit too revealing. Oh, gosh. And I seen this other brother, he can't have his hand on her waist. What? All of this happens. I see this. And imagine if you that man that people got to come back and tell about your story. You in your mind, you're thinking of things that's like when Job was sending up offerings to the Most High at the thought that his children were sinning. That's like you just look. I know she out there doing something that she shouldn't be doing. I know she out there doing something. That's hell to deal with.
Because like a man's reputation, good
Yep.
or bad, extend to his wife and daughters.
Mm-hmm. Reading on, it says, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. Meaning there's certain people who should she be given to. Like a man that's a sinner, let him get her. Right? And it's going to tell you that in the next chapter. Right? A righteous woman is given to a righteous man, and a wicked woman is given to a wicked man. Right? So that's kind of saying the same thing as far let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. Meaning she has that title of being a sinner, and she should be given to those just like her. 20. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Sometimes I'll be reading something like, man, the poetry behind this. It's like you are an elderly man with bad knees and you got to climb up a sandy hill, man. It seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, man, it's so hard to overcome this. Imagine you a quiet man, just want to live in peace, and she just all over the place. She's full of words. She never stopped clamoring, tail bearing, backbiting. All of that. And you're like, dang, man, what did I get myself into? Stop. No, don't say that. Stop. Don't even deal with that. Don't even say nothing to her. And it's continue going.
Yeah. 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 Verse 21. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. Right? So that's the majority of men out there. They stumble at the beauty of women, right? How voluptuous she is, the yams, how they describe all of that. He's like, man. And to have that, you enter into a marriage and you have to deal with that. Or even worse, you now have a one night stand, and now you're a product of a child, and now you're attached to a demon because you lusted after her looks and not her spirit, right? Go to Proverbs chapter 6. Proverbs chapter 6. And I'm going to start at 23.
Verse 17, you said Proverbs 17.
For 17, I said 15, 13. So Proverbs 6 and 23 says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So this is how a man now levels up and understands to keep these commandments and learn discernment when dealing with women, right? Even like today, what we're talking about with so-called Valentine's Day, which comes back from a pagan worship called Lupercalia, right? That was an old Roman pagan custom, form of worship that led to all form of illicit sexuality. The Lord tells you that you're supposed to not whore out your women. There should be no whores of the daughters of Israel, of the daughters of Zion. Fornication is when you go and you sleep with a woman, or a woman sleeps with a man with no responsibilities. So you would now use the law to reprove yourself, to correct yourself, to say, you know what? What am I doing? Am I going to go get her this and do that? For what purpose? What's the intention behind this? Because most intentions is to do what? To go get into bed, right? I'm taking you out to dinner. And a lot of times, even outside of this Valentine's Day, brothers be thinking like, yo, I done took you out to dinner. You know, you got all that food. What am I getting tonight? Right? It's like, Dad, that's all you. Hey, I'm spending a lot of money here. You know, you could have went to McDonald's or something. McDonald's, and you start arguing over how much. But it's all about using the commandments to reprove you an instruction on how to deal with women. Women, use the instruction on how to prove and deal with or get a good man. It says this is what it was meant for men. Verse 24, to keep thee from the evil woman. See that all this that we reading about? It's to forewarn men. Use the commandments to keep you from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. Right? She's sitting at the bar, you there, and you look down and she give you that long little stare, and she back that eye, and then look away, you smitten. You like, dang, that was me. Yo. Especially with today's extra law. Damn, that was me. Bartender. Give another whatever she's drinking. Give another whatever she's drinking. You already gone. Right? It says, for by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. That's what her intentions are. A lot of them out there to get you. You see that in the celebrity world with these athletes. I forget the girl's name. There was a woman, Deion Sanders, brought her to the HBCU. This was crazy. I don't know what. He brought this sister who was a social media socialite, but she's loose. She's out there. She's what you would consider one of these type of women. He brought her to the university to speak to the young brothers of who not to get with. She told her, played her card. Listen, we out here to get your money.
We're going to trap you. We're going to do this all on social media, right? And then it put out there, went viral. You got another brother who's an athlete that went and got with the same sister after she said what her intentions are, had a child by her, and what happened not too long after that? Broke up, and now she's trying to bring him to a piece of bread. This is what this is meant for, so that you can avoid these things. Satan has a whole bunch of them out there that's going to look good. They're going to look good. Not on the inside, but on the outside, right? The way society's going now, they're making clothing to even furthermore accentuate a woman's body that they walk around. I look at videos in the 90s when we was coming up, and I see the attire of what women had back then. Not to say it was all perfect, but I see the attire then, and I see the attire now. It's like a whole total transformation. You're like, yo, man, that was a little bit more respectful. Not that it was always respectful what they was, but it was a little bit more than what I see now. And that brother who don't have his wit about him with this is going to be brought to a piece of bread. He's going to be taken. So that's why the Most High is has all of these different descriptions about wicked men. About wicked women to prove a man. You can't read all this and learn all this and then go out there and then you sitting somewhere, you at the train or you somewhere, and you see that same type description of a sister bat her eyelids. And you like, ooh, she ain't bat nobody but me. Ooh, right? Where you going? And it goes, right? Yep. Good girls gone bad. Yep. That verse was a good verse to describe how the metropolis is. All right, let's go back. Ecclesiasticus. Let's try to swift this up. We have verse 21. It says, "Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure." You read that in Tobit, in the book of Tobit, when Tobit with his wife, and his prayer, he said that he did not want to take his wife for pleasure. He wanted to take her to be in unity spiritually, right? Sometimes people get these women just for the aesthetics, and then over time, when the aesthetics wear out a little bit, they have some kids, they put on some pounds, they get a little, and then what happens? You don't see that same thing, and you ready to toss it to the side, right? You're not here for just pleasure, right? Yeah. All of this is for correction. Verse 22. Shalom, brother. "A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and reproach," right? So it says, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and reproach. So when a woman has to maintain a man, usually what happens is the roles is reversed, right? The roles is reversed because the man is supposed to maintain or take care of the woman. And a lot of times you see that when you get these lazy men who don't want to work, who don't want to take care of the responsibility, and she holding everything down, then she going to be contentious. She going to come home, look at you a certain way, call certain things. It's going to be that way. Now, I quoted 1 Corinthians 11 chapter 1-3, where the head of the woman is the man. The man is in the authoritative position. You read in Exodus, when it says, when a man entices a woman, he must provide for her, I'm paraphrasing, to be his wife. When you read later on in the law, her food, her raiment, and her shelter, he has to he's supposed to maintain it. You can't do it, then don't get a wife. Right? Don't go and do it. Today, sometimes you become erratic. You think with some other parts, and then you enter into it before the time. No, you got to understand that that's not going to happen. So if you do get into that circumstance situation, then you're going to cause her to have this type of spirit on you over time, right? Not to say that something might happen to the man like with in the book of Tobit, where he got blinded and his wife had to go out and do women's work to support the family. But that was due to circumstance. You can't be a brother who just want to get a wife and then don't do nothing, and she doing everything. That goes against the order.
But you making $500,000 a year. I'm just a little security guard.
You still, but that's different, right? I mean, it still might cause some things, right? But still, right? You have to still take your responsibility. You still got to go and do some work. You just can't just say, well, she's making 500,000, because again, she's expecting you to do something, right? If she maintain you, just know that Satan will play on her spirit to bring something like that in the household. That's why you use the scriptures to create the balance, right? The man just can't understand these principles. The woman has to understand them too, so that she don't be in your household carnally minded and bringing carnal thoughts in of the relationship at home. Both have to be on this. Yeah. Yep. You gonna say something?
Even when that happens, your work is when you go a week. You try to limit things in the house. Tell me what to do. I'm the breadwinner.
All right.
10 times your salary.
Read this in Proverbs chapter 30. Proverbs chapter 30. Proverbs 30 and 21. It says, for 3 things the earth is disquieted, and for 4 which it cannot bear. Pardon me. It says, for a servant when he reigneth, and a fool when he is filled with meat. For an odious woman when she is married, and a handmaid that is heir to her mistress. Right? So there's an imbalance in there. Right? There's an imbalance. A servant who's put into an authoritative position. Right? A servant when he reigneth, a fool when he is filled with meat. Someone who has no discernment, who has no real wisdom on how to deal with things, he's going to be careless. Right? He's going to be careless. An odious woman when she is married. Right? An odious. It's a good question. Let's look it up. Odious. I know it's someone who's not so it says here, I don't like that. It just says extremely unpleasant, repulsive. Let me see if I can get more clear definition. All right, here we go. Right. Something causing extreme repulsion, hatred, or disgust, often describing sins, behaviors, or conditions that are abominable in the sight of God, right? So imagine a woman who's like that, who is odious, that's married, repulsive, wrapped up in sins. The husband is going to go through all kind of things. She shouldn't be married, right? So it shows you that there's contention when things are done out of order, right? Servant who's reigning. So you have a woman, as it says in 22, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger because he's upset. This guy he ain't pulling his weight, right? I even seen one time I was driving to the school, and there used to be a radio station that had callers call in, and they would speak about their relationships. And it was a sister who had a husband who had a job. She had a job, but like you said, she made more money than him. And she making more money than him caused problems because it weighed on his spirit that she was the breadwinner, right? Just like how they said head of household, she was kind of the head of household, and it played on his spirit. And then she admitted that sometimes she takes advantage of that. And that causes contentions in that household by certain things that she says in their relationship, right? And she was honest and transparent to say, yeah, sometimes I understand why he feel the way he feel. I do make more money, but sometimes, you know, it shouldn't matter. But when I don't like some things he do, she holds it over him. Right. And that be the case. So again, a lot of this, as we're reading these things, is supposed to like either self-examine. Do I do that? Am I that way? Am I that wicked woman? Am I that lush who just going out there looking for all these wrong women? Am I that person? Let me use the law to clean me up. Let me use the testimonies so I can learn from somebody else's fall, or I can learn from somebody else's reward based on what they did. That's what the scriptures are supposed to be, right? What is that? 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is given by inspiration of God, right? For correction, for reproof, for doctrine. All of this is supposed to correct you, right? Just not looking at it like, that's messed up. We just reading all these doggone wicked. No, it's meant to correct the nation. Moving on, verse 23, back in Ecclesiasticus 25 and 23. A wicked woman abateth the courage, maketh an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. Man, that's you don't want to. Usually, when people do the vows and stuff for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, right? That was man's worldly way of saying this, right? When the husband or somebody is feel had a bad day, or your wife had a bad day, whatever, you kind of help lift and pick each other up, right? You tend to each other's infirmities, whether physical or mental, right? That's how it works. But imagine you going through things and she could care less. She's all self-absorbed. She's self-absorbed. Yeah. Man up. She praying on your downfall because you got a good amount of money over there. She hoping that you do something stupid so you can call the cops and then put some papers in and take half, if not more, than your money. Because that's what she was about. A lot of sisters will be honest and tell you that's what they're about.
She said, man up.
Mm-hmm. Verse 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Right? So it tells you in 1 Timothy 2:13 and 14, the kind of parallels with this. 1 Timothy 2:13 and 14. For Adam was first conceived, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression, right? So we understand, like I think I read it earlier in 1 Peter 3 and 7, that we're supposed to deal with our women unto the weaker vessel, right? Remember, there is an order. 1 Corinthians 11, there's an order, right? So even in the law, the Most High tells us that women are subject to their fathers or their husbands. And if a woman doesn't have a father or a husband, then she's subject to the priest. Then she's subject to righteous men, because the Most High tells the priest that you're supposed to go out to the fatherless and the widows, those who don't have a guide, those who don't have that person who's going to be their form of correction and protection. That's what we're supposed to do. So we have to discern for them. In the law, it tells us if a woman makes an oath, a man has the authority to disannul it. Father or husband has that authority. So when we leave that up for them to make choices on, who knows what can happen, right? Who knows what can happen? So we men, remember, Proverbs 8 and 4, unto you, O men, I call. We got to set the standard. We have to be the ones to discern and see all these things that can happen and have been happening and try to make it right.
That doesn't mean you're not going to suggestion.
No.
And, take things in consideration and analyze everything in the light of the scriptures.
Right.
You listen to everybody.
Listen, when you're reading the scriptures, good example in the book of Judith, right? When the men was not making wise choice, Judith had to step in and say, what y'all doing is wrong. Y'all tempting the Most High. You can't tempt the Most High. You can't put a time limit on the Most High when he gonna, if he decide to come and save us within a week, then no, you can't do that. So that testimony shows men that, listen, all these sisters ain't bad. All these sisters ain't wicked. There is going to be some virtuous ones, some wise ones. And you have to know the signs when you see it. You got to be able to see it and then also be an attentive ear and listen. You're going to make a discernment, but you got to be able to recognize it. Right? What is that? Isaiah 8:20, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, there is no light in them. That's how you are able to try that spirit. Judith was consistent. She was a constant with her wisdom. So when she came around, people knew. It was like, yo. But now you got a sister who wishy-washy. You got somebody who just then, you got to be more careful with that. You got to be a little bit more attentive and on point. Same with brothers, so to speak. But again, it's trying to correct our thought process on how we raise and build the nation. How do we correct each other? How do we watch out for leaven or the sin that may spear his head up, and how you deal with it? Right now, it just happens to be on onslaught on women.
And like brothers always teach that the shoe fits wear it, not take it off.
Mm-hmm.
As men more under scrutiny, you can say, "Oh, that's not me," but look to the man to your left, to your right, from you, behind you. Does it fit the bill? Okay. But I think if folks want to personalize it, then it's just like, what's up with the good conscience?
I mean, like the scripture says what it says. Right? That's the topics that we discussing right now. We have to tell it like it is. Just like when we get to the men, we said it like it is, as it is written, without trying to sugarcoat or try to sidestep, and try to avoid feelings and things like that. That's when we start, making consideration when it comes to the Most High scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way.
I'm just catching up on these chats. This is can't pronounce the name. Is it Condare Mercy? Please pray for me. I am not conceived pregnancy because doctor reports a fibroid. All right, yes, we'll definitely send up some prayers for you if you're having complications with your pregnancies due to a fibroid. Scriptures say prayers of a righteous man availeth much. We'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers, sister. 3 of the hardest things to find is a good man, a good woman, and a good friend. Right? It's hard to find those. You're absolutely right. And the way you find them is through the scriptures and proving them. Right? But I think, yeah, good man. Like, I think what he's saying is sometimes in general case, to have that brother or that woman, sister, or husband for the brother that you can truly trust, it takes a minute to really, find somebody that's there for the time, the long haul, that you can, walk with, right? Like I said in Amos 3:3, can 2 walk together lest they be agreed? That's the challenge. Nobody said it was going to be easy, right? Once you came into this truth, it wasn't going to be like, oh, the red carpet was going to be rolled out. I know even in the world it's hard, but in this truth, it's just like, oh, the red carpet is going to be rolled out. One thing that binds us is the scriptures. So once you come in here, we all are holding each other to a certain standard that we follow this. We eat the right things, we dress the right things, we celebrate and worship the right ceremonial things the Most High wants us to worship. We deal with each other according to the moral and civil laws found in the Bible. Right? That's what we all hold ourselves, to a certain standard. But it doesn't mean that everybody clicks with everybody, right? I may see a brother and I like the brother, I'm respectful with him, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to deal with that brother like Yahushua deal with John. No, Yahushua and John, and they was cookie crunch. He loved that man for whatever reason. He had a certain bond with him, right? And him vice versa. But they still all did the work together.
That's the package
let's read on. Let's finish out. It says, verse 25, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. Meaning you have to be prudent to see or to have some form of restraint. Go to Proverbs 22. You got to foresee certain things. Proverbs 22. To kind of give some context. Proverbs 22:3. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. So a prudent man will see errors or contentions or conflict or whatever and remove himself from it. It says, but the simple pass on and are punished, meaning they don't use sound judgment. They run right into the doggone nonsense, right? They run right there. So here when it says, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad, you now have to use prudence to prevent certain things from happening, right? The same way when they got dams set up so that the water can't go but so far. They said, nope, we're going to stop it right here. We're building a city so that everything is cool. We need some water. We're going to do this. Now, when you see a wicked woman or certain qualities and certain things building up in a system, you correct. Nope, you got to stop right there. Nope, we don't even want to hear that. Don't bring that word. I don't want to. If you're going to do that, you got to go, right? You got to stop it right when it shows its face. Verse 26, back in Ecclesiasticus 25:26. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorcement and let her go. A lot of times brothers in the pastors use this verse aimlessly. She don't want to go as you would, brother. You can let her go, right? You know, Israel, we always looking for the easy way out. We always looking for something that's going to allow us to get the easy charge. I'm dealing with this woman, man, and she, I told her to go and do this. She said no. So can I write a bill of divorcement, brother, and let her go? For what? Because y'all was supposed to go down to Atlanta, and she don't want to go to Atlanta. Now you trying to divorce them? Come on, brother. That's not what this is talking about, right? That's not what this is talking about. That's why Matthew 19, because it is the law for divorcement is in Deuteronomy 24, right? It's in Deuteronomy 24. But Yahushua said this in Matthew 19 to put some context onto what we just read. Because brothers back then, and even some now, went too far. 26, Matthew 19. And 7. They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorce and to put her away? Verse 8, he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. From the beginning of Adam and Eve, there was no law of bill of divorcement back then. So Yahushua gave understanding as to why the Most High gave that law. It was for the hardness or the lack of understanding, the stubbornness of men to put that in effect. Because if not, men would have just went out there and just been fornicating all over the place. See what's one, I don't want to know. You got to go through this whole process of writing a bill of divorcement. So now it becomes binding, right? Now you got to take this to the public and let it know, yeah, this sister right here. And then they're going to inquire, what happened? What? And you're going to go through all that. But it says, verse 9, I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whosoever marrieth her, which is put away, committeth adultery. So except it be for fornication. And someone can look at that, whether physical or spiritual, right? She's talking about she's worshiping Satan. She's talking about she's now becoming a Buddhist, or she's now into Islam and she's going to do, then that may bring too much else. And you might say, okay, I may have to do this, spiritual or physical. But for these other things, because she don't put the seasoning like you like, nah. She don't watch the shows that you want to watch, nah. You chose her with discernment, you got to work through that. You got to work through that, right? except it be for that. So that verse says, if she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go. Precept upon precept, line upon line. You now link that with what Yahushua said, who's our example. He gave further clarification on what this really means, right? You got to have a level of patience now. You got to deal with that because, again, we're nation building. You got to work through your problems. All right, let's continue on. Chapter 26. We'll try to be more judicious with this because there's a lot of wicked women. So I'm not trying to go through too many precepts. No, because what we did 2.5 hours. Yeah, we're gonna speed through this. Yeah, we're gonna try to keep online. Nah, we're gonna speed through this. 26:1. Blessed is the man that have a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. Right. Find a virtuous wife, like in Proverbs 31. You can start at we're not going to read it all. You can just start at verse 10 on down. That links with verse 1, right? It says his days shall be double, right? You're going to have less stress. Verse 2, a virtuous woman rejoices with her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. Man, you come home, the house is set in order, children is all point. You got food on the table, peace in the home. Man, that's the beauty of life right there. You don't want to come home to a contentious house. This is beautiful. 3, a good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. So there you go. When we read last time, you start reading about these wicked women, and now it's letting you know that certain women is given to certain men. Jump down to verse 23. Verse 23 says, a wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Lord. So sometimes you brothers, you talking about, my wife. What's up with you? Something might be up with you. It might be something going on with you, brother. The Most High is giving you that portion because maybe you ain't right.
It says Colossians 3:19. It says, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them.
Mm-hmm.
And that be not bitter against them, because something that bitterness might come up.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right. Not only that, because you can expand on that, right? As far as to be not bitter towards them, because a lot of times, especially when you come from out of the world, in the world, they wait for these made up days to do good deeds, like Mother's Day. Mother's Day is when you go and you do something, you take your mother out, you buy her some clothes or you get her some gifts, and then that's now you showing affection. Father's Day, Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is when you want to go and reserve that restaurant and take her out and do certain things. You wait on these made up days to do good deeds. But then there's times, the rest of the time, you don't do nothing. Right? You don't show that same care for your significant other. And then that also makes them bitter because it's like you don't have an intent behind what it is. You're just doing it because Esau told you to do it. Right? So a lot of that plays in the part. Right? I always look at with children, sometimes a child will come up to you and give you a hug just because. I love you, mommy. Come and give you a hug, give you a kiss. Son come up and give the mother a kiss or whatever. It's like, wow, that made me feel good. Right? It was random. It was a random choice of affection. Something with us, with the Most High. We don't always just wait for the High Holy to come and say, oh, Most High, I thank you for doing this or doing that for me. No, you do it random, or you should be doing it random. Tuesday, Thursday, right? You just don't wait for the Sabbath day to think about the Most High. You don't wait for the Passover to say, oh, I'm thankful for what Christ done for me. Nah, man. No, You do it continually in anything you do. Paul tells you whether you eat, whether you drink, whatever you do to the glory of the Most High. Right? You got up this morning, you made it to, you got a job over here, you got a job to go to, you got means to get food on your table. You better thank the Most High. Right? That's why even blessing your food, Yahweh gave us an example. We bless our food to the Most High because we got the opportunity to eat. So that bitterness comes back to you're not really teaching or doing things to build up your wife. And that's a responsibility that men have to take upon themselves to do more effectively.
And a good practice to dealing with the Most High, you have to practice that you when you wake up or however way how you live every day, you have to live as if you have a father in the house. That's how you gotta deal with the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Like in always acknowledge that your heavenly Father is there. That way you will never miss, thanking the Most High, appreciating everything that you are doing as far as the Most High is concerned.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back. We have 26 and we have 4 now. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance. So it don't matter what circumstance you in, right? Whether the Most High exalt you or the Most High bring you down low, you should always be able to still reverence and worship the Most High in Christ. Go to Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4. And I'm going to start at I'm going to start at 10. Philippians 4:10 says, but I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at the last your care of me have flourished again, wherein you were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Now that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. For I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. So it don't matter what circumstance you're in. You have to learn to still support and serve the Lord, whether you're poor, to still support or serve the Lord, whether you're full or you're rich, because that may be a problem for some. You could be poor, hungry. Why am I in this state? I got other things to focus on now. I start doing all that stuff that was over there, right? Because now you feel that you have been left out or the Most High is punishing you, and you feel like, well, you know what, man, this is too much. And you lose faith, you lose hope. Or you could be given a surplus of money. And what happened, that money choke you. And now you're not focused on the Most High and Christ anymore, right? You don't focus on the principles that you once got because you're so wrapped up in the money. Where am I going to go? What car am I going to get? What restaurant am I going to go to that I couldn't have enough money before to go? You're thinking about all that, and then you lose a sight. So that's why it says whether you rich or you poor, you still got your eyes on the prize. And that's what Paul was saying. He's learned through the Spirit how to abound in both situations, right? And that's how we have to be, right? That we are be able to continue to endure whatever we get.
Kind of like what you just mentioned with Paul, just like some brothers get it twisted. Everything that Paul was written in the epistle, it's all inspired by the Most High, just as the whole scripture of the Testament were inspired by men moved by the Holy Ghost. All the epistle was inspired by the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter reiterate that in 2 Peter chapter 3:15 and verse 16.
2 Peter 3:15, 16. Okay. Reading on, we have verse 5 now. There be 3 things that mine heart feareth, and for the 4th I was so afraid. The slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation.
all these are worse than death, right? That's why even in the law it speaks about not bearing a false witness, because verse 5, because what that does, it can lead to imprisonment, right? You can go to jail behind, like we've seen a lot of brothers and sisters, and for that matter, who've had a false report put upon them, and they've been in prison for long periods of time unjustly. You could lose your honor. You had a certain, a good name out there, and someone comes and stains your name falsely. You could lose honor and respect out there. And even worse, you might even lose your life, right? Somebody makes a false claim upon you, and now somebody's looking to react revenge or do something to you. So that last one, that false accusation, weighs heavy. But the other one was with the slander of a city and an unruly multitude. It's like the mob back when it was in slavery times, and you seen the mob of the oppressors coming, and they come into your door, they knock on your door, they standing out there with the flames going, and you see them coming. He's like, oh my God. Yeah, like Rosewood or something like that. Right? That's fearful. You always living in doubt. No power or might in your hand. And these types of things is at any opportunity can happen. Right? So 3 things that a person's heart feareth, and we live through that. Verse 6, but a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicated with all. Right? So I don't know. Some people say it's when, women are put up on a pedestal from child, and get the Barbie dolls and they look made like princesses. And then, over time, women start comparing themselves one to another. They can't wear the same dress, can't wear the same outfit. And they go through these things, and how bad or worse that is with women who are foolish, who are loose, who are all these other principles that we read, and then they start going at each other. A woman is jealous over another woman. A woman is jealous. I saw just the other day, yesterday, a brother had a child by a woman. She was like 2 years old. He got his daughter's hair done by another sister. That woman was jealous over that woman, and when they co-parent, and when he brought his daughter to his mother, and she questioned who did her hair, and he told her who did it. She went and took scissors and cut her hair right then and there on the street. I don't want you to take my daughter over that woman had to do. Cut her hair right there. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Cut her hair. I was like, come on now. Right? Women can become too much. Especially like it says, when a woman is jealous over another woman. What does that lead to? Man, think about that. Right? She's stirring up thoughts. Who you with? Where you going? Why you there? You could be at work. I know you over there. What are you talking about? Right? All kind of things stir up. That's why we read what we read earlier, as far as for having prudence, being wise to understand from experiences on how to navigate, to learn, certain things even beforehand. But a lot of these things, men have to use correction or better decision making and how to navigate these. Some people come into the truth with these problems, right? Some people develop these problems in the truth because they wasn't smart, right? They didn't use the scriptures. They get into like, man, really? Yeah. And now you got to deal with it still with wisdom. It says, and a scourge of the tongue which communicated with all, right? So again, like in James, I think it's the 3rd chapter, it goes into the tongue. I think the 4th chapter goes into the tongue. It's something that you see happen in the streets, so especially with loud women, sparking, throwing out darts here and there, all kind of things, man.
Verse 6. So like verse 7. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. Right? Scorpion, sometimes patient, bite you, and then that's poisonous. Sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's that way. Sometimes you have a good day, you have a bad day, and it's bad. Then all of a sudden you make up, and it's a good day. It's a bad day, and it's bad. A drunken woman, verse 8, and a gadder abroad curseth great anger, or causes so like great anger. It says, and she will not cover her own shame. A drunken woman and a gadder abroad causeth anger. A gadder is a person who habitually wanders or roams about in idle or restless or aimless manner, searching for pleasure, gossip, or social amusement. Busybody, so to speak. That's just looking to get involved in certain things, right? So a drunken woman and a gadder causes great anger. Right? Here she comes. Sometimes I be just now this morning, I was coming up the street and I seen a sister coming up the block. Loud, looked like she was drunk because the liquor store is right there. They be out there early. And she coming up the block. Yeah, what is that? You like, let me hurry up and get into school, man. Let me hurry up and get into school. I'm a flee from evil. Let me not even deal with this unless I have to. Right? Because it's an anger. Y'all brothers know me, especially if we at camp and somebody, especially if it's a brother, sister, even worse. If they drunk, I don't want to entertain you. I don't want to entertain you. I'm already that's my pet peeve. If I smell alcohol in your breath, nah, you gotta sober up, brother. Come back another day, because you're not gonna retain, and it's not gonna go well. Verse 9, the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. So we read that earlier, as far as for the appearance, in Proverbs, how some women is out there in the highways and the byways to look for certain men. But it says whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. You can link this up with chapter 19 in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. Chapter 19 and verse 29. Ecclesiasticus 19:29. It says, a man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him. A man's attire and excessive laughter and gait show what he is. Same thing for a woman, right? Her attire, her disposition, how she looks, you can make a prejudgment. Yes, you can make a prejudgment. You can't judge me. The Bible says you don't judge. If I go down in the corner and I see a sister with 6-inch heels, stilettos, 8-inch stilettos with a stocking, whatever on her legs, high booty shorts, all patent leather, right? Walking across the street up and down, I'm going to make a prejudgment right off the rip. She out here selling her body and her cleavage out. You can't judge me. What do you think? Yes, I am. I know what you out here doing.
Right, that Dave Chappelle skit. Just because I'm dressed this way.
Right. Right. So, yes. Even the Lord, right? Go to Isaiah. Thinking about this. Isaiah chapter 3. Criticize Israel's women in general. Isaiah chapter 3 and verse, I think it's 16. Right. Isaiah 3:16. It says, moreover, the Lord saith, because the daughters of Zion, which is the daughters of Israel, are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Right? For some brothers, we see it. Right? You be out in the mall, you be somewhere, and those sisters be switching extra. You be like, look. Yeah, she trying to catch your attention, brother. The way she walking with her feet and the way she looking, right? That's a spirit on these women, right? They kind of have that spirit to what? Trap men. They're looking to entice men for various different reasons. It says, therefore the Lord will smite with the scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts, right? So the Lord is going to put a curse or a judgment on women who have that type spirit. Wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go. Y'all think it's cute. Most I don't. Righteous men don't, right? Most I get you. We're not going to give you judgment, right? We're not going to execute a judgment on you, but we will tell you about the judgment that can happen to you from the Most High. It's a forewarning. Whether you hear or forbear, we'll tell you, look, that's not becoming of a lady. It's not becoming of a daughter of the Lord. You can wear what you want to wear, but if I read here, the Lord says such and such. Oh, you don't want to follow correct? Okay, cool, right? It'll happen to you. So that's an example of, how a woman's haughty looks, her facial expressions, and the way she moves. The Most High will intervene and have a judgment upon her, right? So now, reading on verse 10. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty, right? So this goes into a lot of the scriptures that we read about. Proverbs 29, it says, the rod of reproof of wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. Right? That's Proverbs 29:15. If you leave them to themselves with no form of correction, they're going to bring you shame. And that's what this is saying, right? Lest she abuse herself through over much liberty. Right? So what happens? You got to correct them along the way. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way that he should go. Right? And when he is old, he will not depart from it. So these are things that a person, a father and a mother, should want to correct early. Verse 11. Watch over with an impudent eye and marvel not if she trespass against her. So you got to take careful correction and eye and watch and observe what she's doing. And don't marvel when she go off, because look at the liberty you gave her. Look what's happening, right? You got to stay on top of that as best you can. Verse 12, because if not, it says she will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he have found a fountain and a drink of every water nearby her. But every hedge she will sit down and open her quiver against every arrow. How poetic, right? Exactly. Yeah, she for the streets. Yep, she belongs to the street. You leave her be. Listen, when somebody come through, she there, and she's ready to open up her quiver, spread her legs wide for every arrow to come through. Yep, the Bible said that. Yep, it's giving you the visual. Yes. And that's why it says when they're shameless, because when you're shameless, you don't care about the body count. You don't care about the virtue you just now devaluing by having this promiscuity. You don't care about that. The Most High do. And for the men, watch out for these type women. Right? Yes, Judah, our forefather, he went down looking for these type women. Yes, when you read it in Genesis, Judah the patriarch went down looking for a harlot and found his daughter-in-law. Yeah. Right? But here, he shouldn't have done that. Was all the patriarchs perfect? No. Were they all open? No. They had some sin too. Right? And we're seeing these types of things. That was a shameless and wicked spirit when you go and you deal with something like that. She, though, was trying to make a point. So reading on, verse 13. You can write down Proverbs 5, 8-9 for verse 12. I want to read that. I don't want to read it because we kind of read it for another precept, but it kind of goes with this one too. So for verse 12, write down Proverbs 5, 8-9. Verse 13, the grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. You can't buy that. That's what we're talking about in the class this evening, about the virtue of a woman. Her value is compared to rubies. Rubies being one of the most, if not the most precious stone that you have out there in the world. Not the diamond, not the rare diamond. No, that ruby. The virtuous woman is in comparison to that rare gem. So now for the sisters out there, because they, in those shows, they always talk about the high value man. This is the high value woman, right? The high value woman will take upon her the principles found in Proverbs 31. The high value woman would, be shamefaced, right? Dress modest apparel. The high value woman is going to now make sure the household is taken care of in righteousness. The high value woman is looking to better her household. Thoughts of now worshiping and serving the Lord and doing things for the household. The high value woman is even thinking about the nation, how to protect the nation, like a Judith. That's a high value woman. Where are you finding that at? Who like that out here in the streets of Philly? Who like that out in Brooklyn? Who like that in Atlanta, LA, Chi-Town? Far few and between. So I always say the scriptures is just that. It's a scripture. What part you want to play in the Most High's narrative? So as you read these principles, and it describes women, it describes men, it describes nations, you got to go and say, well, hell, I don't want to be the shameless woman. I don't want to be the wicked woman. I want to be the good woman, the virtuous woman, or the good wife. What do I need to do? Sign me up. Show me all the precepts that align to that, and I'm going to read that, study that. And then on the left side, I'm going to put all the things that pertain to being a wicked woman. Same thing for the men, right? I want to now make sure that I keep my temple holy. What do I need to do? I got to stop the weed. I got to stop to that. I got to stop going out to the clubs, strip club. I got to stop doing that. Okay, cool. I'll put all that in a line. Verse 15. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. Again, we're talking about high value sisters, high valued woman, right? Read all these qualities and principles, sisters, and you be that. You become a Judith, a Deborah, right? You become these righteous sisters.
Right. And also, with so much pressure society has put on women to devalue them, without the help of the scriptures, it's going to be a challenge to abide by being a standard of a virtuous woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy.
Mm-mm.
Because women have been beaten down to become what society wants them to become.
Mm-hmm.
So to be out there, to be virtuous, it's very, very difficult. Only with the help of the Most High that can be achieved.
That woman get paid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid.
They're influencers,
Yep.
Right? Promote promiscuity, right? You're getting paid to promote that. What do you mean that's wrong? You know how much money the little Edomite girl just turned 18. I don't know. She's a childhood celebrity or whatever. I don't know what it was. She turned 18, joined OnlyFans. Millions of dollars right the first day. Millions of dollars. So what happens? People get, seduced into that type of lifestyle. Can get a lot of money, especially in today's time when you're talking about AI about to take my job, but all I gotta do is get a camera and a laptop and then just, put on little outfits here and there, and they coming, and I'm making money. Yeah, that's gonna be hard for a lot of these women to throw away. Talking about something I gotta put on clothes. You telling me I gotta put on clothes? Where's the OnlyFans for that? Oh, they ain't one. I ain't doing that. It's gonna be hard.
Especially to the part that be that pay the woman, to them, it's not about the money. It's about the investment. Investing in the value of these women that's gonna kick down the men, especially our men.
Even their own men that are on the same zero-sum game. I was gonna say real quick too, to Bob's point. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. You look to, because you hear women say that a lot. Say, well, not all women are like that. They even him with an acronym, no wall. We'll put no wall. Or the other one is I die. They'll say it depends on the person. Not all women are like that. Okay, you're the exception. Like you said, we speak generally. You look to the woman to your front, to your back, to your left, and to your right. Are they like you? Because for these women that are the exception, oftentimes they're in a friend group that's doing the other stuff. And now they have to be the odd woman out if they are indeed not like them. And like you were saying, it makes that much harder. Because it's like, you want to be with the group or be a part of some kind of group. But if you're all alone on an island, that just that alone, that isolation is very tempting.
Yep.
A lot of times, let me stop a lot. I'm trying to stop saying that. Sometimes, when some sisters get it, when they're a single parent and they got a son. When they're a single parent and they got a son, and now they got to guide their son to not get caught up by the same women, because they know good, they know well, women know, and they're gonna say, listen, watch out for these fast little this, watch out for that. Then they get it because then they know the behaviors and the thinking of women, right? But when they're in that mode, when they're trying to come up, they all that goes out, all that logic goes out, right? It only happens when they now have to consider a son of theirs who's going out in the world dealing with these women, and they don't want their son to get caught up with how the Bible describes these women and what to avoid. Then she'll start telling her son. I seen the brother who's a football player, plays for, I think, the Redskins. His mother goes everywhere with him. Once he became an athlete, they made a meme or a joke about it. He started dating this girl who's a basketball player, and she is there. Like, they're going to date, she there.
What?
Yes, because look, she's trying to protect her son. And her mom, she protecting her son. She want to hear what they talking about. Stop that. No. Let's give them the nudge and everything. So yeah. Once you get there, then you understand. But majority of them, sometimes they're too lost. They too lost.
Like Akon, when the woman divorced him, yeah, he got all his money in his mother's name, and he had like what, $10,000 in his bank.
Yeah, yeah.
And the woman like, what?
Yeah, you get a lot. You're getting more male athletes who are starting to do that. They're starting to, when they get these big contracts, they're putting their contract in their mother's name. So that when and if they do go out there and they get with a woman who has intentions to just try to take their money, whatever, and they take them to court, they ain't got no money because it's in their mother's name. They're an employee of their mother. Their mother gives them an allowance. So they can't take anything. And it's happened many, many times that I've seen the past 3-4 years.
Remember that this I think it was an MMA fighter.
Yes, him. I don't know if it's the same with an MMA fighter.
She didn't have a kid for him, and she was now wife per se on paper. She was just his girlfriend.
Yes.
And she wanted half.
She wanted half of his earnings. She made money too. She took him to court when he broke up with her and she said that she helped build his fortune and she wanted half. He was a multi-million-dollar athlete she made like $1 million or whatever. So they went to the they took him to court because his money is in his mother's name and he had no money. Then turned around and sued her for money, and they awarded him money from her. The judge says, "Okay, yeah, now you got to pay him," and she had to pay him like half of her money. Yeah. So again, you know, what is it? Galatians 6:7. For whatsoever, I go. You know, folks. So yeah, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. If your intentions is evil or wicked, the Most High will reverse that and bring that back on you. Yep. Yep.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. All right, let's go on. We passed the watch. So we have verse 16. Almost halfway there. It says, as the sun when it arises in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. Right. So like in was it Proverbs 31:27 talks about that virtuous woman looking well to the ways of her household. It's like a light. That wisdom is on her to make sure everything is in perfect harmony with the husband, with the kids, with the household in general. Something's going wrong, she informs him. All that's well instructed. It's beautiful.
So Song of Solomon 6:10.
Song of Solomon 6:10. Right. Song of Solomon 6:10 says the same thing for verse 16. Verse 17. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. Right. So same thing that we read earlier in Ecclesiastes 8:8. Who is as a wise man or who knows the interpretation of the thing? A man's face. I don't know. I'm quoting. I'm misquoting it. Maketh his face to shine. A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine. So it's comparable to the menorah, right? So is the beauty of the face in ripe age. So, you know, with wisdom, you still are spiritually beautiful to the Most High. It's not about physical, because you could be a beautiful sister at 60 or 70 or 40 and be wicked as hell. I used to say back in the day, if you're in the spirit, if what you represent inside became the reflection of who you are on the outside, you see a lot of demons. Like that movie,
You're right in my head, the Shallow Hal.
No. Oh. The one with what's the guy from Godfather? No. His son took over. Al Pacino. Al Pacino was the devil in that movie with Devil's Advocate. And remember, in the Devil's Advocate, when they was moving through the room, you would see the faces and you could see the demon on the face. But then after a while, it go away and it'd be a pretty woman, right? So you walking around and on the surface, you looking at a lot of pretty women in this room. But in the Devil's Advocate, it shows you that they was demons underneath. So in the same context, if you walk out here right now, it's a lot of demons walking around there, but you don't know that. You got to prove them first to find the demon in them or to find that righteous, beautiful sister, right? That's why you got to prove them, because you're not going to be able to always see it on the surface.
I didn't expect it with that Shallow Hal movie, but a lot of fruit of the spirit, that even though it's like a romantic comedy or whatever. Yeah. It's really on point, some of the stuff that's in there about, like you said, seeing beyond the surface.
Right. Verse 18. So, as the golden pillars are upon the sockets of silver, so are the fair feet with a constant heart. Right? Constant, persistent, discipline. Right? Your spirit is always trying to do what's righteous for the Most High. Right? So now you're building a solid structure in your household with the men and the women who's holding it down. It says, my son, keep the flower of thine age sound and give not thy strength to strangers, right? Give not your strength to strangers, meaning your seed, right? The law tells us all the way back in Deuteronomy, I think it was the 7th chapter, right? About not going and giving your sons to their daughters and your daughters to their sons. Even go to the book of Tobit, chapter 4. because it's going to self-explain itself, but let me get the example in Tobit, chapter 4. I think it's 12. Tobit chapter 4 and verse 12. Come. It says, beware of all whoredom, my son, right? Speaking to Tobias. And chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, right? That's why it just says here, and give not thy strength to strangers. It says, which is not of thy father's tribe, for we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they were all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. Remember, there's laws of inheritance, right? The laws had to now correspond to the man and their tribe. So that's why he says, chiefly take one of your own people. Because what will happen? Here it is, you done took a wife of another nation. You die. She's going to bring her family in, and they're going to take the land. They're going to take the possession. They're going to take it over, right? Keep that within the nation. Verse 13. Now, therefore, my son, love the brethren, or love thy brethren, and despise not in thine heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of thy people, and not taking a wife of them. For in pride is destruction and much trouble, and in lewdness is decay and great want. For lewdness is the mother of famine. And that's what happens. You got a lot of lewd men running around here dealing with women the way they are. So that was the guidance and the wisdom given to Tobias from his father. And now it's generalized here when we go back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 26 and verse 19, right? So it says here, my son, keep the flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the field, sow it with thine own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. So thy race, which thou leavest, shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent. Why would they have a good descent? Because you did what Tobit said, right? Your possessions and things will be within your tribe, will be within the nation. That was a law going back to Moses' time. This ain't nothing new. It's just that men's lewdness, whether you can look at Solomon for what he did when he went out there and got all those women, or other men that went out and found other women, right? I know Aaron and Miriam stepped to Moses when Moses took the wife of the Ethiopian. They went to go and like, yo, what you doing? Right? And then they got a little bit too big, and then they went and started pressing them about why the Most High got there with you. And the Most High said, all right, hold on, let me step in and jack you up, Mary. Why are you talking like that to Moses? Right? But as far as for why he did that, Moses wasn't perfect. He had some flaws too. David had flaws, Solomon had flaws, a lot of these men, and these men were righteous men with flaws. Be quiet.
That's how you see the spirit behind the Apocrypha is tying to the law in reference to how he described wisdom.
Right.
Because I remember in chapter 24, 25, wisdom find its origin from the Most High, right? And it find its dwelling places in Israel, and then its identity comes right back in the law. That's why it's advising him based on the law that was written, because if there's a contract between the Most High and us, and that's how we have true communion with the Most High within the law. That's why everything that we're reading goes right back to the law, because that's where wisdom finds its identity.
Right.
Right.
How can somebody speak against these principles? Like, why are you reading it? Man, what's wrong with this? Right? The scripture tell you in the Peter's, go taste the Lord that he's good. Taste of it. Tell me what you're reading that's wrong. Right? Point it out. So reading on, verse 22. It says, "An harlot shall be accounted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband," right? So provide stability, wisdom, counsel, right? Strength, support, like all those things that we read before in the previous verse when it says that a woman in the last chapter, a woman that will not comfort her husband in distress, maketh weak hands and feeble knees. But on the flip side, the woman does do that. And then some, right? Then she's the one that's building up the house, right? She's now making that, stand firm. But the harlot, she's like spit. Tuh. Verse 23, "A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Lord." So like we said earlier, if you are a man and you always having problems and contentions with your wife, check yourself. Go look in the mirror. Go examine yourself. What am I not doing, or what am I doing to have these things? Let me go talk to a brother. Brother, I'm having hell up in my house. All right. And then he or they can give you different insight as to probably what's going on with you. Verse 24, "A dishonest woman contemneth shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband." Right? A dishonest woman contemneth shame. She has no care. She's like, what? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Say what I want. I do what I want. Damn, sister, you ain't ashamed of the. Nah, not at all. Right? But the righteous sister is going to seek guidance from her husband. When it says reverence her husband, same way how we reverence the Most High. Right? We come to the Lord for guidance, for instruction. Right? A wife is going to do that with her husband. It says, "A shameless woman shall be counted," verse 25, "as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord." Right? So when you read in Matthew chapter 18, I think it starts at 15, when Yahushua is giving us guidance about how we handle issues with one another. There's steps and measures to take. You go and talk to that man, that don't work out, you go talk to a small group, that don't work out, you bring it to the church. If that don't work out, you treat them as a heathen or a publican. Right? In this case, a shameless woman will be treated as a dog. Like Christ told that woman, the Syrophoenician woman, he called her a dog, meaning you are base, you are beneath us. Like you can't be counted up here with the rest of us. You down there with the rest of them, being those other heathen nation. Talks about that in was it Exodus? Is it Exodus 11:7? So not a dog move his tongue, right? Israel is not like the Egyptians. A dog shall not move his tongue against Israel. Woman, when you act that way, somebody can probably call you out your name, right? It says, verse 26, "A woman that honoreth her husband shall be judged wise of all, but she that dishonoreth him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all." So a lot of this is repetitive. And one thing you learn about the Most High when you read the Bible is he repeats certain laws and certain themes so that you can get it, because sometimes Israel don't get it on the first go around. If it was just one verse about how the wickedness of a woman was, he's like, all right, woman's wicked. And then you go on to the next thought. But these 2 chapters, man, it's gone in deep with the wickedness of a woman. Proverbs are the same thing. So you like, dang, the Most High must really have a thing with how these sisters is acting out here, right? So it was a responsibility for both men and women to try to clean this act up, because men have a role of why sometimes the sisters act that way, because we allow it. We encourage it. I'm in love with the stripper. You love with the what? The stripper. And now it's playing on the radio. Now you're going to get other men to go to the strip club to find a woman like you, because she look good. She bat her eye. She got a nice yam on her, whatever, right? And now you're going to cause more women and more men to go and get it. So, yeah, we have to fix this.
Even sometimes, a woman that's a whore, she be looking at a virtuous woman sometimes. And like in Second Ezra 16:49, it says, like as a whore envied a righteous, honest, and virtuous woman. And sometimes a whore envy a righteous, a virtuous woman. She's right, righteous and righteous woman. And she look at her and she's like, wow, I really, want to give up all of this to be a virtuous woman.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as you can see in this chapter too, something to realize is that they focus on marriage as the most influential of human relationship, like between men and women. And also, you can see the same theme repeated as us married to the Most High. It's a marriage. To enjoy a best relationship with the Most High, it's kind of like a husband and wife in poetic form, the way the Most High described it. Like us married, I'm married unto you. That's how the Most High said to Israel. Right? So a marriage between men and women is so important in metaphorically and physically. It can make you or destroy you.
Right.
With a good woman, a good man, it can prolong your life. With a bad woman and bad man, it can destroy your life. So the focal points is marriage.
With this.
Go ahead.
Verse 27, a loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. Right? So it's like this is almost like how you got a lot of folks who are in prison. And there was a thought before of saying, hey, won't we send the prisoners to go to war? Hey, in jail, won't you go put them on the front line instead of putting some of the other? This is like that. This is a loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. Let them go over there with all that loudness and that quarrelness and everything. Let them go mess them up. Go put them in their cities. Go put them in their dwelling places, right? To go move the enemy out or drive them away, because that's how bad they are, right? Right? We don't want them here. Y'all go over there. Right. So it says the scold. The scold is a nagging and quarrelsome person who constantly is always nagging and loud talk and banter. It's constant. 28. There are two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry. A man of war that suffereth poverty, and man of understanding that are not set by, and one that returneth from righteousness to sin. The Lord prepares such an one for the sword, right? Which is sad, because you look at today, when Esau's military, that's what happens. These men go out there, put their lives on the line to quote unquote protect and give, people civil liberties. I'm putting quotes around them because it's not what it is. But the thought process behind it is they go out there and put their lives on the line, and they come back home. They're not given proper health care. Right? Training or whatever to now integrate themselves back into society. And what happens? I start seeing a whole bunch of them out in the corners. Vet, right? Army vet. I'm like, dad, how all these vets coming back from, putting themselves out there on the line, and they're not being well taken care of. That's why it says a man and one that a man of war that suffereth poverty. Right? He should be decorated. He should be taken care of. The financial or the system that's is upside down. Stupid. What is that in is it Ecclesiastes? About how folly is set on high. Right? Huh? 10:6. Folly is set on high. Stupid stuff is what gets well paid for and rewarded. Whereas things that are admirable, it's a little note.
Yeah, even the spoils of wars. And when we go to wars and we get like spoils, we share them among ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even I remember back in the day with Saddam Hussein and all of that stuff, and they saw all this money and they see gold and all that stuff. They can't touch that stuff. None of that is for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has to come back to the government, and they don't get any of that.
Right.
Because they access to money and gold so on and so forth. They got no spoils of war.
But, I mean, in the way the veteran system is set up, it's like going to a maze to get it. It's there, but they don't make it easily accessible.
Right.
You have to go through hoops to get it. And if you one of those people who are not, you're just gonna be suffering when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
You can get deported too.
It just happened. Yeah, that just happened.
That's what this guy got.
Yeah.
So Jamaica, and he served, and he was serving the war, and then he got deported.
Yep. So again, it says a man of war that suffereth poverty, a man of understanding that are not set by. Right. You can link that with James 2. James 2. So a man of understanding that is not set by, meaning he's not recognized. He's passed up for foolishness. Somebody who's just about folly and nonsense. So James 2 and 1, my brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons. For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing or the goodly apparel, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? Meaning your surface, right? Your surface. You're only doing things based on what you see a person may have, right? He got nice shoes, he got a nice car, so maybe I may be able, he can influence me or get me certain things that I can also, benefit or help, myself. Whereas this man is a man of wisdom and understanding, an ancient gray beard, as they say, in a nation, but he's not set by, right? You putting him way out there. You're not even letting him in. That's respect of persons according to the Lord. So that's what it says on a man of understanding that are not set by. Then it says, and one that returneth from righteousness to sin, right? So you was in the truth, you was in the way, and then you went and followed after wickedness. 2 Peter's chapter 2. And 21. 2 Peter's 2 and 21. Actually, I'm going to start at 20. Actually, I'm going to start at 19. It says, while they 2 Peter 2:19, while they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the soul that was washed to her wallowing in the mire, right? So that's how it's being compared to a person who was in the world, then came into this righteousness, came into this knowledge, and then went right back out there to continue to do the same sin that they escaped from. The latter end is worse than the beginning because you knew better. You had a taste of the Lord. He put you in the room and you chose to go out the back door and back out. It's going to be hell for you. All right, last verse 29. It says, a merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and a huckster shall not be freed from sin, right? A huckster is like a hustler who's just looking to pad his own pockets and has no discretion on taking advantage of people. Same thing with a merchant. A merchant is about selling products and goods, right? They want to make money, but they do it based on ill means. So there's laws that govern against that, right? Proverbs 11 and 1.
Proverbs 20 and 23, right? So Proverbs 11 and 1 says a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, right? False balance meaning you're taking something that's of value and you're devaluing it, or you're taking something of devalue and making it valuable and trying to sell it to somebody to get more money. The nations do that, right? They do that with the gold, right? You're going down here to these shops and you're thinking you're buying some good pure gold or you're getting some good. No, they swindling us. They swindling us. They do that, but we can't operate that way, especially primarily with each other, right? We have to be honest with each other on how we do our exchange. We have to be honest with each other on how we trade and barter and exchange goods.
I want to repeat what he said, but that meme that was going around about Tracks New York, where he went behind the cage talking about, "Where's my money?" Everybody was talking about that. It was like month or so back.
Yeah.
It was a jeweler. You know?
Yeah.
You see, it was crazy because you could see the other guy who was yelling at behind the counter that was underhanded. You could see him looking at him, saving face, was looking at people with the cameras on him. Like, you can see in his mind, he's weighing this out, like, okay, what do I say? What do I don't say? What do I do? What do I don't do? So that I can not hurt my business. Not like, let me try to make this wrong right with my customer, but how much fallout I'm going to get because of this? The people got me on, on their phone watching it.
Right. You could also write down 1 Timothy 6, 9 to 10, where it speaks about they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, right? They that will, those who desire money or desire to be rich, easily fall into temptations and snares, because what happens is sometimes you swindle people in order to get the advantage, and that's the temptation. Satan puts it out there, right? Change the numbers a little bit here, change the weight and measure a little bit there, and there you go. 1 Timothy 6, 9, start at 9 to 10. Huckster. I was like, I never heard that word before. That's like a hustler, but a little bit harsh, right? So yeah, all these principles of what right looks like and what wickedness looks like has been already outlined in the Bible. We just didn't take the time to read it, or it's been hidden from us, right? Like these hidden books. But if we take the time and we apply some of these principles, both men and women will fare the better, right? The Most High will set certain things up and send out angels to protect you, to encourage you, to strengthen you, even might give you certain gifts to overcome in these last days and times that we're going through. So yes, that was the last verse that concludes today's Sabbath service lesson in 25 and 26 from Ecclesiasticus. Next week we will be in Second Chronicles chapters 15 and 16. Again, that's 2 Chronicles chapter 15 and 16. No? Oh, 13 and 14. It's a lot. Yes, 2 Chronicles 13, 14. As mentioned earlier, this Monday night is the 12th new moon, right? Monday night is the 12th new moon. So we will have a service to commemorate the 12th new moon for the Most High. And then keep in mind on April 1st, which is a Wednesday night, is the Passover, right? April 1st, Wednesday night is the Passover. So we're yes, I'm gonna read that in Deuteronomy for those who are listening, watching, new. Deuteronomy 16 and 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy power, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, which is the feast of Passover, unleavened bread and Passover, the synonymous, and in the feast of weeks, which is the Pentecost, and in the feast of tabernacles or booths, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. So the Lord prescribes 3, which is really 4 when you read throughout the history about Hanukkah. 3 of these high holy days, the Most High is calling out that men must appear, and you need to appear with an offering. Passover, going back to the 90s, the agreement for the offering for one family or one household was $200, right? $200 for the offering for the Passover. For the other high holy days, it was $100. The reason why it's $200 is because the provisioning of what you need to prepare for the Passover, the lamb, the bread, the wine, the juice, the so forth and so, getting the location. So that's why that's that way. Now, that's what the agreement says, $200. But the next verse says, every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. So if you are not able to give $200 and you only could afford $83, if you could only afford sincerely $29, whatever that is, that's on you. You give what you are able to give. If you're able to give the 200 to meet the quota that the congregation set decades ago, then you do that. If you're able to go above and beyond that, you want to do that on your own as a free will, you do that as well, right? But there's a provision that you can't show up without something, right? You have to give something as an offering, right? Now that's provision for the Lord's Day, High Holy Day, the Passover. Like we said today, do not get into the midst of, like I said, if you're watching this, if you're new, Valentine's Day is not something that we want to support or celebrate. Again, it goes back to Lupercalia. I hope I'm saying that right. Lupercalia. Pretty much it's idol worship. There's wicked practices that's associated with what happened during the Roman Empire during, I think it's the 6th century, but I can't remember. But it was around the 15th of February, and it got moved to the 14th, and then put a wrapping around it, around this man, Valentine, who tried to support marriages and things back then. So they took his, what he went through, he was put to death with, and wrapped it around this pagan worship that even started before Rome. We read that in the book of Baruch last night, that they was doing these sexual practices even before. They just dressed it up. Right? Society dresses up a lot of things that's pagan. They dressed up New Year's Eve. They dressed up Christmas, right? They're dressing up Valentine's. They dress up a lot of things. Mother's Day. All of it is dressed up into idolatry and pagan worship. Go do the research, right? Go do the research of the origins of where it started from. It's dealing with whoredom and whoremongering. Let me get one precept before we break down. Like I said, go and read the history behind it, and you can check it out. Go to Job chapter 14. Job 14 and 4. So Job 14 and 4 says, who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one, right? So it's a question. So there was unclean rituals, sacrifices, and things that started with this festival that happened back in ancient times. But then they took it and dressed it up and put a wrapping around it to make it appear clean. Who can say that that is still clean? It still has those same practices in it, right? Go to Psalms 106. Psalms 106 and 35. It says, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works, and they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. Yeah, they sacrifice their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. When you go into Lupercalia, that's what they was doing. They was also sacrificing children. It's not as illicit as it is today because they removed that, but still have the same wrapping around it. So it's like, look, stop. Do not entangle yourselves with these things, because now it's all about promiscuity. Like they said, I'm telling the brothers, the Winter Olympics that's going on now, they said 10,000 or how many 10,000 condoms was put out so that they can have safe sex. They said within 2 days, it was gone. It ran out. Imagine that. 2 days, 10,000 condoms. Yes.
Look up how many athletes? It was like 2,900.
Yeah. Yeah. And all they out there, right? Leviticus 19:29 says, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land shall fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. Why? Because the law is spiritual. When you do with these practices, it plays on your mind and your spirit. And then you get comfortable and you continue to do these things. And then you think it's just okay. Then you say, hey, my body count don't count, right? It don't count. Why should it matter, right? And then what happens? The land becomes filled with wickedness. And because we intertwine ourselves with the customs of the heathen, right? Trying to take a clean thing out of an unclean thing. No, it's wickedness. So when your time after the service, go do some research on Lupercalia, learn about these holidays that we follow, right? All of them. Learn about what it is that we so-called practicing, and then execute Romans 12, chapter 12 and verse 2. Be not conformed to this world, right? Don't conform yourself to society's ways. Conform yourself to the Most High in Christ and follow our righteous ancestors who kept the charge and kept the call. All right. Now we are.
Ecclesiastes 34:4.
Ecclesiasticus.
Go with Job 14:4.
Ecclesiasticus 34:4. So it reads, of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And for what thing, and from that thing which is false, what truth can come? On point. He said, I gotta go write that one down. All right, housekeeping. Hopefully, the brother, man, I missed a lot of things here. I don't see. This sounds like the same person from before. It sounds like we went through this storyline. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, let me just put that in there. Let me spell it right. There we go. All right. So, for the person who is looking for help, we use discretion. We don't know, unfortunately, we don't know who you are. So, if it could be, that's why we like to invite brothers and sisters to our classes, not just the Sabbath service, because we know it's all mainly done on live stream. So if you can come to the classes on Tuesdays and Fridays, I know it might seem to be
time consuming, but you know, today, like how we just read, there's a lot of hucksters out there, right? And we don't want to get in the habit of just freely just putting things out there like that. So as I'm about to do right now, here's the class information, right? On Tuesdays and Fridays, you can call the teleconference number 667-770-1085. Put in the code 521-455. If you're on your phone, sometime you're driving, you can just dial in, participate, listen to the class. But what we prefer is for those to join the Zoom call for the same class so that we can see who we're dealing with. We can talk to you, question you, find out what's going on, what type of spirit you in, where are you going. So that allow us to be able to try the spirit by the spirit to see if you're truthful and not someone that's looking to just hustle, right? Or just in scoffing. So we ask for those to come into the classrooms on those times. If you can't come down physically to the school in Philly, 3826 B Germantown Avenue, and come and sit and break bread with us in that manner. For those who do want to support this truth, support, you know, the upkeeping of keeping this truth out, paying the lights and the rent and things of that nature, please send your donations, your tithes, offerings to paypal.me/HYK with any offering or donation that you have. Same thing, it can be done with Zelle. The number's on the marquee, 646-620-7378. If you old school and you want to make a payment, you can do it through check or money order, but make sure you make it out to Hayah Sharala Kanas. That's who we are, Hayah Sharala Kanas. And then the address is on the marquee. You could always like and share, save this video, come back if you miss any information and get the information, as once we shut it down, it should be back up online within 3 to 5 minutes. All right. So like we always say, like and share, try to get the algorithms up so that other people can pay attention to this word and then draw closer to the Most High in the last days, as it's going to be more and more pertinent as the days go on. That a lot of people become aware of this truth so that we can kind of get up out of here faster than later. So again, I'll say shalom to all the brothers and sisters that, man, it's almost, what is the Romans watch? Almost 4 hours is what it was, 4 hours. I didn't think it would be that long, but that stayed up with us. The Zelle number, again, Hebrew watches for. All right. So here's the Zelle number again. Is 646-620-7378. When you put that number in, you should see Hayah Sharala Kanas come up as the for the school name for that number. Again, 646-620-7378. Right. Again, this is all for the purpose of, you know, keeping the lights on and paying for all the utilities and things that we have to have brothers just come in and learn, or to do these live streams and the teleconferences for this word. All right. So again, I would say all praise, honor, glory go to the Most High Yahweh power. That's his name, Yahweh, which he is all things, as well as Yahweh Shah Mashiach, or Jesus in the Latin or English, the anointed. Right, the anointed Savior, for allowing us to break bread spiritually, to go over these precepts. Lord's willing, you were able to take down all the scriptures. If there's questions that you may have that wasn't clear or a little bit concerning, then hopefully you wrote them down, and then you can come to the class and bring them out at the class and we can discuss them. Right, we usually like to make it available for the class people who dial in to ask the questions up front, and then later on, if not, then we can go through topics of choice to edify each other. But definitely always write down, have your Bibles and things ready to take notes for need be. All right. So with that, again, I will say shalom, all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh Shah. Have a remaining Tawab or good Sabbath day. Most High's will hear or see each other during the new moon come Monday night. All right. I'll say stay tuned for the closing prayers. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Par Yahagapin, Thawada Aman. La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ath, Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, which is the Most High, in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is Christ, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. And you read about that ceremony in the Apocrypha. We'll get to that at some point later on. But you read about that in Ecclesiasticus chapter 50, starting at verse 13, about the service with the wine. All right. Imadwa Punywa Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem for the closing prayers. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kushah, Shammai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yam Yun, Aitha, Shalat, Mayaka Allah, Waha Allahayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shemal Ayel, Barak, Rapa, Magun, Wahakasayak, Punya, Yasha Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabium, Kakama, Rabium, Ba'ai, Rabium, Bayana, Rabium, Sabalongwa, Rabium, Amawan, Rabium, Aqua, Rabium, Ahabium, Rabium, Hagana, Rochanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Yamnawa, Laha Akim, Wa Akiwa, Wayasha Allah, Thumb Yad, Wa Iwalam, Basham, Yahawashai, Thawada, Amun. So that was the ending prayers in Hebrew. Now we'll give the English edification. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, or the Most High, in the name of Christ, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers or angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. Four corners prayer in Hebrew. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Wabathya Saparim, Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh Achad. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us and Israel and the house of books, or the different schools. And Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. And again, we say Ashar Shabbat, happy Sabbath, Shalom, peace and blessings to you all, brothers and sisters. Enjoy the rest of the day.